Good evening, and welcome. Good evening, and welcome. Good evening to our St. Louis Public Schools Board, to our St. Louis Public School community. Thank you for joining our August board meeting. Please be reminded that decorum will be observed. It is asked that no one interrupts or blurts out during any portion of the proceedings while we are conducting business for our children. Govern yourselves accordingly. Thank you.
Ms. Brittany? Ms. Bree, my apologies.
Mr. Hikes?
Present.
Ms. Weiss?
Here.
Ms. Hubbard?
Here.
Ms. Vowell?
Present.
Ms. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Present.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
We have a quorum.
Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening once again. Normally we begin with the SLPS student board report or the president's report. So I'll start with my report. Clearly everyone has been aware of the news and the ongoing hype of St. Louis Public School. I don't know how in the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks we have become so famous. We've become Bridgerton. We've become Melrose Place. We've become everything but what should be important, and that's the students. As president of this board, we've tried to make sure that we are focused on what's important, which is the students and the staff of St. Louis Public Schools. We've been told by President Cummings that he got a call from a reporter that the district is a mess. So it made me do a lot of reflection. I went to Harvard to PELP, and we were asked what the theory of change we were working on. The theory of change for me as president of this board, and what I've noticed, is St. Louis Public School Board of Education has had governance only for 5 years. If you don't know what that means, thank you, Susan Jones. Thank you, Joyce Roberts, Donna Jones, Natalie Vowell, and those that worked hard for this board to receive governance, meaning that you all had control, took control by the people who voted for you to oversee the district. And that was July 1st of 2019. You were met with many obstacles for a district that no one paid any attention to. Because I don't know if you all noticed, but education was never a topic of interest until all of a sudden, 10 to 15 years ago, it became a money thing. We know it was all about the money, still is. So 5 years ago, these brave people fought hard for governance. And from the governance, they were able to actually have the voice for the people. They had hard times. During the hard times, they had to make some tough decisions, closing schools down and really trying to lead this district in the right path. When we came on board, Donna Jones held on, Natalie Vowell came back, myself, Matt Davis, as well as two that were appointed, as well as Joyce Roberts. She held on as well for a second. When we came on, We had the opportunity and the vision to see how to show people the impact and importance of what democracy looked like. And what democracy looked like was we were voted in by the people. We were voted in by the people. And once we were voted in, we had to start making changes for this district. We had to speak on behalf of this district. And we had to make sure people knew that this board had a voice and should have a seat at the table. We are the governing body for St. Louis Public School, not the mayor, not the Board of Aldermen. We are. It is our fiduciary responsibility to speak on things when it comes to academics and education for all in the city of St. Louis. So we went on an adventure. First up, Board Bill 1552. That bill, they tried to take $18 million from this district each year. What would that have done? That would have removed all resources from our children. No after school. Half transportation probably would have been taken out. No special needs. No reading assistance, none of that. But with the help of Local 420, thank you, Mr. Byron, President Cummings, with the help of our Parent Action, our previous board members, we went up to Jeff City and we fought. And we fought hard and let people know who we were. And from that fight, we were able to save $18 million for each month for this district. That's what this board did, still as babies, as a governing body. We kept on going, and as we moved forward, we pushed to get Prop S passed. That was a bond. Guess what? People believed in us. 87% of the people believed in us because that's how much we passed that vote. What did we do? We proved to show that this is what this board can do. We promised new restrooms. We promised new roofs. We promised new playgrounds. These are the things we promised the people we would do as taxpayers with your dollars. You'll see, because we show you every day at every meeting that we have what we've done with your money. Those are the good things that we've been doing, only as babies. After Prop S, guess what? We did the citywide education plan. That, again, is the fiduciary responsibility of St. Louis Public School Board of Education. From that, we were able to get all components together, not just St. Louis Public School, parochial, the charters, colleges, businesses. Everybody came together, and we did a moratorium because we said this city has lost population time and time again. And it's not just about education, safety, infrastructure. So many things has occurred where this city was losing. And instead of working in silos, we have to come together and work together. We cannot continue to fight, attack, and use things for personal gain. That doesn't take this city or this district to any other different level but low. The citywide plan and the moratorium changed the game. People don't like change. People don't like change, but we do, and we'll continue to do it. Sometimes we may get it wrong, but most of the times what I'm finding, we've gotten it right. You don't hear about the Verizon lab at Yateman School. You don't hear about the Verizon lab at Long. You don't hear about the Verizon lab at Lovinger. No, you don't hear those great things. You don't hear how working with the union, we were able to get teachers increases. You don't hear about those things. You don't hear about how we've gotten principals increases. You don't hear about how we had literacy for the Lou and brought in over 4,000 families, serving them at a library that no one ever wanted to use or go to. Historical. You don't hear about that. No. In the gossip column, you hear the lies. You hear the lies, how the district is broke, how we've lost so much money. What you need to hear is how we're working tirelessly to change this. And we can't do this alone. It takes a city. It takes a city to change the game. I have no desire to seek any other political seat. Trust and believe. And for the record, 17,000 people voted for Tony Cousins. For 2 years in a row, I've had board members voted for me to be president of the board. To be clear, I will not step down from this position or from this board. SLPS Students in Transition Community Back to School Health Fair. You didn't hear about this either. I want to recognize this woman. I want to recognize her team, and I want to recognize the staff that pulled this event off. During all the challenges this district has faced, this staff continues to strive and work and fight for the children, which is why I continue to strive and fight for this district. I see the love that you all have, especially students in transition. Normally we have an event for student in transition, specifically for Dr. Deidre Thomas Murray's birthday. She holds this event specifically to service the students in transition. You didn't hear about that either. I missed that, my apologies. Unfortunately, this district have over 500 high school students that are unaccompanied youth. What does that mean? They're sleeping couch to couch, sometimes in the park. We don't know. We have over 4,000 families that are homeless. Before, St. Louis Public Schools' top priority was education. As we've learned and moved through things, it's bigger than education. We have to focus more on just education. You have to bring additional resources in to help the child, which helps the family. Our Student in Transitions Department has understood that, and they have gone beyond the miles needed to service those families. Dr. Deidre Thomas Murray and her team, as I stated, normally hold this event just for the student in transition. It turned out to be a little cozy thing that she did. She wanted to give back for her birthday. She wanted her birthday to be a celebration for all. She had a lot of sponsors. If I'm not mistaken, it was the Jason Tatum Foundation that did a lot of donation. We had barbers come and do haircuts, what have you. But this year, what she said was, and I think the other team was like, why can't we have our own back to school type event? So what her and her staff did was open the doors and made this a student in transition / literacy for the Lou back to school event. And I think they were able to pull this off in less than 3 weeks. What normally turns out to be a, what Dr. Murray, 100 to 700, What normally turned out to be 700 participants, we ended up with 3,000 families that we were able to serve. You didn't see that on the news, though, did you? You didn't see that in the paper, because that was good news for a change. We were able to give out medical sign-ups. Thank you to Aphenia. Thank you to CareSTL Health. Thank you to our schools that showed up. We had shoes that we were able to give away. We gave out book bags. We gave out underwear. We gave out socks, baby clothes, bras. We had food trucks. You know, anything your heart desired, we were actually able to supply. The event turned out to be such a success that staff members came and said, President Cousins, how come we can't do our own back-to-school event? And I agree. How come we can't? So, with that said, let's give a big round of applause to our very own Dr. Deidre Thomas Murray and her incredible students and transition team. I had to finish reading. For her outstanding work on the 2024 SLPS SIT Community Back to School Health Fair. Over 1,200 families benefited from the medical service, school supplies, and essential resources provided. And to top it off, Dr. D, as she is known around the district, selflessly hosts this event on her birthday. Talk about dedication. So not only did we get much needed support for our families, we also got to celebrate Dr. Deidre Thomas Murray. Thank you, Dr. Murray. Dr. Cosetta Brown, named Council Chair for the Character Plus. We're incredibly proud to announce that Dr. Cosetta Brown, our dedicated school culture and climate coordinator, has been selected as the new District Leader Council Chair for Character Plus. Character Plus is an organization dedicated to promoting positive character development in young people through partnership with schools, families, and communities. Dr. Brown committed to fostering positive character development in our schools perfectly aligns with the mission of Character Plus. We are excited to see her leadership in action as she guides district leaders from across the state to implement an effective character education program. Congratulations, Dr. Brown, on a well-deserved recognition. We're incredibly proud for our exceptional SLPS high school students who just completed the Young Scientist Program Summer Focus Internship at Washington University. These talented students embarked on groundbreaking research this summer. Brandon House and, you ain't gonna help me out either, huh? Upaka from Metro, Sadupa, I'm sorry, from Metro Academic and Classical High School, along with Galia Ahmed from Collegiate School of Medicine and Bioscience, and Shalom Yi from McKinley Classical Leadership Academy, conducted groundbreaking research in areas like myeloma risk assessment, neurovascular communications, heart health, and malaria treatment. We thank Ms. Cheryl Brown, Audria Jackson, and the principals and teachers who supported these students. Congratulations to our brilliant young scientists. Your dedication and achievements are an inspiration. Listen, I don't even know how to pronounce half of these things, so for them to do that, congratulations to them. Please remember our upcoming calendar date is the biggest date of all. I'm sure all eyes are going to be on us. It's August the 19th. It's the first day of school. Y'all ready? I want to make sure who I did not acknowledge that I do need to acknowledge them, because everything that I explained, especially about what governance is and what we've done, and I know they probably don't want to do it, but I'm going to ask them to do it anyway. As a board, we couldn't learn or know what we're doing and have the knowledge and insight that we have without this organization. This is where credentials come into place. This is where learning and having true knowledge and understanding of what governance is. I didn't understand or know, hey, I'm on the board, okay, yeah, what does that mean? But understanding guidelines and making sure you're following protocol and doing what you're supposed to be doing is really how you run a business. So I asked for Linda Quinley and Ms. Janet Tilley to please stand. These two represent Missouri State Board Association. Melissa, Randall could not be with us. She's actually the executive director. But these are our go-tos to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. Sometimes, I get out of hand, so I have to get slapped on the wrist by Ms. Janet. And she's retired, but she doesn't know what retirement means, because she'll stick with St. Louis forever. But we understand and know that we take it serious. And we couldn't do this without the knowledge and skills that we get from Missouri State Board Association, but mostly from the two of you all. And it means a lot just to see you here. And we hope that we continue to do well by you. Thank you very much. With that said, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Borshade, who is our acting interim superintendent. Dr. Borshade.
Thank you, President Cousins. I will get started with the Spirit of Excellence. Tonight, the Spirit of Excellence shines brightly on every teacher and staff member returning to St. Louis Public Schools for the 24-25 school year. Welcome back to our educators. To our returning staff, we appreciate your continued dedication to our students. And to our new teachers, we are thrilled to welcome you to the St. Louis Public School families. After a well-deserved break, you're back, ready to inspire, guide, and nurture the next generation. You may not always see the immediate impact of your work, but know this: you're shaping lives, opening doors, and creating a brighter future for our city. As we begin this school year, I would like to ask our entire St. Louis Public School community to rally around our teachers and school staff, offering them our support and encouragement. We're excited about the first day of school, and so are our teachers. In fact, I'll let them tell you in their own words. Video, please.
Courtney Morgan,
Amira Herndon,
Paige Jones,
Heather Nason,
Kenya Womack,
Julie Malloy.
What I'm most excited about this year is just the newness.
We are going to have a lot more English language learners in our school.
They have redone our floors in our room. We are supposed to get new whiteboards.
A new group of young people that are ready to learn and are excited to learn and ready to grow.
Just getting to meet my new students and find out what their interests are.
Just getting to meet new kids and getting to form a classroom community with them.
If I had one superpower, I would make it where anything that I taught got stuck in their brain.
To have a bus that could take me on any field trip I want to go on.
Ooh. If I could have one superpower, my superpower would be able to snap my fingers and just everybody be quiet.
Keena Davy, preschool.
Carter Sawyer, 6th grade.
Stephanie Palin, 3rd grade.
Crystal Johnson, kindergarten.
We're going to be using desk pets this year. So the kids will have a little funny racer to take care of. And if they're a little noisy or something, it goes to my desk, which is daycare.
Lunch clubs with my kids in my room and being able to allow them to create clubs that we can participate in as small groups and really get to know each other.
Flexible seating, so every student is not confined to their desk. They get to choose different seats, including the teacher's desk, to do their work this year. I'm really excited about starting the school year off with a class pet. This will help students take responsibility and learn how to care for someone.
Something surprising about me is that I have 12 animals.
I used to paint murals before I was a teacher.
I have a pet shark. I can secretly travel in time, but don't tell nobody.
Thank you. Camp SLPS 2024, a summer of success. Camp SLPS was a resounding success. With over 4,700 students enrolled, we made great strides towards our goals of enhancing learning and expanding opportunities. We saw 18 seniors graduate, 973 credits earned, and a remarkable 76% of our students feeling more confident in their reading skills. The overwhelming majority of parents, 94%, plan to enroll their children again next year. This speaks volumes about the positive impact of Camp SLPS. Thank you to all the students, staff, and families who made this summer unforgettable. We can't wait to see you in Camp SLPS in 2025. Just a reminder, first day of school is August 19th, and then we will have in September more physicals for students to participate in. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Borshade. Now at this time, can we have Chief Financial Officer Dr. Banks,
Okay.
Chief Banks, I'm claiming it for you, come for her quarterly financial report.
Well, good evening. This is actually just a budget update, not the quarterly report. And as you know, the fiscal year 25 budget was presented on May 28th, and the board approved it on June 11th. And a lot has happened since then. So I really just wanted to provide some additional context and information about the district's budget and financial status. So, the district budget and finances, of course, support the entire district, and it needs to have a strategic focus. We're not only looking at things that are happening this year or currently, we are planning for things out 3 to 5 years. So this right here is a snippet of the May 28th presentation, slide 11 for anyone, slide 16, except for the bottom row that talks about the annual surplus and deficit. So that $17 million surplus for fiscal year 24 and the $35 million deficit for fiscal year 25, there's been a lot of conversation about this recently. So I just wanted to kind of put that there for emphasis. You know, this is just for the general operating budget. That's not our entire budget. We have several different categories of funds, but this has been the topic of interest of late. So regarding fiscal year 24, we're still in the process of closing out last year. So I'd say that that $17 million surplus for GOB is probably still reasonable and in range. We're still working to finish out the year. For fiscal year 25, you know, that's the budget that you approved, and you know, we're going to go with that for now. Certainly, as things change, we can also change plans and make adjustments. But for now, that is the budget that we are working with. We're certainly very early in the year. We've had very little revenues received. We spent very little money because we're just so early in the year. I guess the point is that this annual budget doesn't tell the whole story. That's where the fund balance comes into play. So you've heard me talk about the fund balance over the years, and those are our reserves. That's kind of like our checking book. That's the money in the bank. So that's not the annual revenues and expenditures. That's the money that's sitting in the bank, if you will. So a little history about our fund balance. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, requires that all districts maintain a minimum of a 3% fund balance. And many of you here have been with the district, with us for a long time, 10, 20 plus years. But if we just look back 10 years at this graphic, back to fiscal year 2015-16, you can see that our fund balance has steadily grown over the years from about 10% up until the current 24-25 year fiscal year into the 40 to 50% fund balance range. So all of the years from 15-16 through fiscal year 22-23 are actuals. Okay, because those years are closed out. All that information has been reported to DESE. But last year, fiscal year 24, as I mentioned, we're still closing things out. So that's just a projection. And for 24-25, of course, we're just starting the year. So that also is just an estimate based on the budget. Increasing our fund balance over the 10 plus years, it has been a very intentional part of the district's strategic financial plan, okay? So important is the fund balance that a policy was adopted in 2013 with a target of a 30% balance, fund balance to maintain that at least. So this is just a snippet of the board's fund balance policy, 3160, where we want to at least maintain a 30% fund balance. So if we look at the current year, 24-25, now on the screen, you'll see that this is the operating budget summary. So the operating budget is a subset of the total budget, okay? So it's less than the total budget. So for anybody that is looking to tie these numbers back to the May 28th numbers, you're not going to be able to do that. Because on May 28th, it was total budget. This is operating budget, a subset. And if you want to get real deep into the numbers, you might want to apply for the finance team because we can use some help. So the estimated fund balance, beginning fund balance for this year is $231.7 million. Okay, why is it an estimate? Again, because we haven't finalized last year. Okay, so we're using estimates. So assuming our fund balance beginning is $231.7 million, and we look at our operating revenue for this year, about $400 million, our operating expenditures for this year, about $434.5 million, we now show that deficit, okay? The expenditures are less than the revenues. So that $34.3 million, that's the deficit. That's our operating deficit projected for this year based on our budget. So that $34 million deficit reduces our fund balance. That $231.7 million beginning balance is reduced by that $34.3 million deficit to an ending fund balance of that $197.4. That's in red. Okay, so if everything plays out exactly as we've had it budgeted, we'd end the year with a lower fund balance of $197.4 million. Okay, that is a percentage, fund balance percent, of 45.43%. How do you calculate that? You take that ending fund balance and divide it by your operating expenditures, 45.43%. Okay? So, why are we deficit spending this year? Well, I just added a couple of 4 bullets on the slide. You know, these are things that we talked about in May, okay, when I went over the budget. These are 4 of the major reasons why we have planned budget deficit this year. But I'd really like to just focus on the first bullet specifically, competitive compensation. So when we have been building our fund balance over the last 10 years, that comes at a sacrifice. What has been the sacrifice? Well, there have been many, but a big one has been competitive compensation. And we have heard that over the years. Everybody knows that we are not the best paid district, right? So I'm happy that we're in a financial position, a good financial position, that we now can begin to really address the compensation. So that's what we really did this year, and that's where we are focused. So, you know, the other stuff, transportation, you'll hear a little bit about that later. In May, we also talked about having a short-term strategy of planned deficit spending, and how that's okay for a short-term strategy, but you don't want to live there. We don't want to live there, and we wanted to get back to that annual balanced budgeting by the year fiscal year 26-27. And we talked about a couple of things that we're doing in order to really to get there. And some of those are on the screen. So we have a framework, if you will, in order to get back to balanced budgeting. So that slide where we saw when we were building our fund balance, you know, these are really the numbers behind it, starting at 15-16, showing our ending fund balances and our percentages. So as we talked about, at the end of 24-25, if everything works out exactly like it's budgeted, we're going to end up with $197.4 million ending fund balance, and that roughly 45% fund balance percent. So if you look at 25-26, you'll see that that 45.4% fund balance is going down to 41.8%. Why is that? That's based on a projection of another year of deficit spending. Okay? So deficit spending, our fund balance going down. You'll see that in 26-27, that fund balance percent goes up to 44.8%. That's the year we're planning to be balanced again. Okay, so that's where that fund balance percent is going back up. So clearly that 44.8% is well above the required DESI 3%. It's well above the district's target of 30%. We're in good financial shape, okay? We're in good financial shape, but we still need to be planning on the things that we're doing. So what does this mean as far as our revenues and expenditures for these next couple years? Well, again, we're planned deficit spending this year and next year. We know we've given some big raises. If we're going to get back to balanced budgeting, that means some belt tightening, some hard decisions are going to have to be made. That means that it's not going to be easy. I mean, we certainly don't want to have to lay off any staff, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to have half-empty buses riding all across the city, right? We don't want that. What we need to do is right-size the district. We need to right-size the district. We need to right-size the facilities so that we can efficiently use our resources, because we know, we hear it every day, the schools feel like they need more resources. We don't have enough staff to put enough staff in all the schools to do what needs to be done to support our students. We need to right-size the district. And we need to do it as a community, and we need to do it sooner rather than later, because the numbers just don't work. Questions?
Vice President Davis.
Thank you, Ms. Banks, for that explanation. And I know I heard Linda Quinley is in the audience, so I think it was about a year ago that she came and presented the efficiency study, talking about some of the things that you're talking about. Is that right, Ms. Banks, in terms of the efficiency study, in terms of the way that the district is currently set up, in terms of the way schools are spread out, the magnet schools, the way that the transportation is set up, and you showed the fund balance going up. You could probably show the inverse of enrollment during those same periods of time. And then we also had the citywide plan, which also was a consensus document talking about right-sizing the district. My question is, we've had those foundations of information that we've been building on. And then when you talk about the strategic planning, does that then include this master planning and the demographic planning, which I think is supposed to be done by the end of the year as part of the Prop S architect study?
Absolutely. Cordigan and Clark, they presented to the board several, weeks ago. Absolutely, we're talking about all that. We have tons of data. I think most of us know what needs to happen, but it's hard decisions. Nobody likes it, but again, the numbers don't work to keep going in the same direction we've been going.
And so, just to sort of talk about the deficits, you put some things up there. So part of that is for the staff raises, which is, that's locked in. So I mean, that's not something that you ever want to go back on for certain. It sounds like those raises over the last couple of years have really helped in terms of retention. The issue being, it's just really hard to fill that many classrooms the way that they're spread out. But the other things that we've been spending money on, have those been investments in the classroom? So, we heard the summer school presentation. I remember pre-pandemic, that was about a $2 million budget. It went to $4 million budget, and this year was a $6 million budget to make it longer and to make it more effective. So are those other investments besides the salaries, are those things that we've been investing in classrooms, or where's that money going in 25?
Well, just like those 4 bullets that I had up on the slide, those are the biggest components of the deficit. We've certainly made some investments in other areas, but one thing that is a significant difference this year and going forward, we have really been flooded with revenue based on all the COVID revenue. We've had an additional $160 million plus that came through this district over the last 4 years. And a lot of those dollars were used for investments and different programs that schools have really benefited from, that those are not going to be recurring expenditures. So again, when I talk about hard decisions that we're going to have to make, I mean, it's hard decisions.
Mm-hmm. Right. All right. Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it.
Secretary Jones.
My question is on the same page as the 24-25 operating budget summary, and you have 5 gold stars here. So can you just elaborate a little bit more on the internal capacity building? What do you mean?
Yeah, when we talked about the internal capacity building, that really is referencing, we have a lot of contracts, and we're really looking to have our internal staff do a lot of the work that currently contractors are doing. And one of the things that we've been talking about for a long time is our pension. Contractors don't pay into our pension, staff pay into our pension. So we need to have staff doing the work, paying into the pension, and strengthening the pension. So that's some of the internal capacity building that we're looking to do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Dr. Borshay.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. I have a few questions. You said we have to make some hard decisions. You said we need to right-size the district. You talked about an efficiency study, and you mentioned Cordick and Clark. Can you share what were some of the recommendations from Cordick and Clark, and can you explain what you mean by efficiency study?
Well, just off the top, you all probably remember that Cordick and Clark said that it's going to take $1.8 billion to get all of our buildings into good shapes. Do we have $1.8 billion to do that? We do not, okay? They also mentioned that it's probably going to, based on all the demographic work and everything else that they were doing, probably the district needs to right-size by 20 buildings, basically close 20 buildings in order to be properly sized based on our enrollment. So the efficiency study, I know that I worked with Linda Quinley quite a bit on that for St. Louis Public Schools. She's in the house, and if she would like to have a few words on the efficiency study, I'd certainly appreciate that.
Ms. Quinley, please help us.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
Good evening, Board. Yes, we worked with the support of Angie and your board leadership to do an efficiency study, which is a multi-year look at trend data really around cost per pupil in specific areas, and then compare that cost per pupil to peer districts. When I was at Kansas City Public Schools, I did the same thing because we were not in a dissimilar situation where we needed to acknowledge that our costs were moving at a more rapid pace than our revenues were. And so I just promised Square that I would update that because he's really interested in, from an operational perspective, where do we start as far away from the classroom as we can to address our own inefficiencies. And so we're going to continue that study. It's really about cost per pupil by category of spend.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Banks? Secretary Jones.
I do have one last question because, when you talked about the efficiency study, I think my concern is that I know that the city right now currently doesn't focus in on families. It seems that the building of apartment buildings and single-family homes, single-family apartments seems to be the trend right now. And I'm really hoping that the focus will change, that the city will start focusing in on family homes so that we can attract more students. Because if you don't have families, how will your city ever grow? We'll just be, in limbo. So I know that that would change the bottom line on everything that you have put down here. So I guess I'm just hoping that we will start building housing that will attract families to this city and change the dynamics of everything that's going on. And I thank you for everything you're doing.
Oh, and I agree also. I was a TIP commissioner for over 10 years. We've really seen some changes over the last couple of years in our relationship with the city. I'm also on the real estate committee. So I think there are lots of opportunities and some changes that I'm absolutely seeing, and I'm looking forward to what's going to happen moving forward. We absolutely need more families in the district because our revenue is really very dependent on having families. We know that our enrollment has been declining forever, and we need to get those families back into the city.
Thank you for that report.
Board Member Val.
So, Ms. Banks, $1.8 billion to actually fix up all of our buildings. That's a lot. And as one of the board members who was part of the last round of very hard decisions to make with closing schools, I feel like a lot of those promises were either not kept. What we were told, that all students would have access to foreign languages, to band, to sports, that didn't really happen. So what did we spend, and you may not have this information right now, and I know that you were with us through those very hard decisions as well, so this is not meant to be an attack on you, but rather a little questioning the process. What were the savings from closing schools? Where did those get directed? What infrastructure upgrades were done? What expenditures were made? And did we just dump a bunch of money into schools that are going to be closed? I know that you don't know the schools that are going to be closed, but those are just things that are on my mind when we talk about making hard decisions, because I feel like the last time we made hard decisions, we did not get what we were promised. So, talking about $1.8 billion, how many new schools would that build? We have these constantly struggling old buildings, and our kids walk into them. The school where my kid is supposed to start school, peeling paint on the entryway a week before school. That's unacceptable. That's a basic need. But we have so many of those. It's not just my kid's school. It's not just, other schools. It's everything. So at what point do we start looking at when these kids deserve brand new school buildings? When do we as a city stop looking at our historic buildings and the old bricks, and we start looking at the little human lives who have to walk into these buildings? So when we look at hard decisions, I just want everyone to keep that in mind.
Those are great points. And I guess regarding new facilities versus fixing up the old, which of course our old facilities, they're just beautiful, they're gorgeous, I love them. But I certainly appreciate the consideration of new facilities. We've certainly had conversations, I've had conversations with others. I think that is a fantastic idea. I think that the district probably needs to be on a regular rhythm of issuing bonds so that we can have more consistency in the things that we want to achieve and plan things out further. But I think planning for, if we want to have a new elementary school or something, that can be part of the conversation and part of the planning. I think a lot comes down to really foresight and that planning and being less reactive and just more planning.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Banks? Board Member Wise.
This isn't a question, but I just want to say thank you for breaking this down for us, explaining this thoroughly, and for helping us to get started with this conversation that is a difficult one, but an important one to have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Banks. I'm committed to working with you and the Budget Committee and the community making sure that we are not overspending. Next up, we will have the state auditor's presentation.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Davis. I am an audit director with the State Auditor's Office. First, I'd like to thank the board for letting us attend tonight. The purpose of our presentation tonight is to introduce ourselves. Again, I'm Kelly Davis. Emily Barraclaw is the audit manager, and Sarah Woodman would be our in charge, and she will probably be the one who the district works with the most. She'll be on site. So to introduce ourselves and then to explain a little bit of the audit process. And then we can take some brief questions if you have them. Or I also wanted to share that at any time, if the board would like us to answer questions regarding the process, the status of the audit, we are also always welcome. Please reach out and we will arrange that. So first, the audit process begins with this presentation we consider to be the entrance conference, similar to your financial statement audit. After that, we will want to meet with also Dr. Borshade and some other key personnel within the district to have more of a hands-on entrance meeting of logistics and where we will be, phone numbers, things like that. And then we start our fieldwork process. The fieldwork for us starts with a survey process where we get a broad understanding of the district, and then we will focus our work on the areas that we consider to be significant. I always like to say that we're taxpayer dollars also, and so we want to spend our time and your time on the things that will be of most use to the district and to the taxpayers. After we do our field work, we will have what we call a pre-exit conference. This is where we bring our initial findings to district staff, Dr. Borshade, CFOs, anybody who relevant staff, and this gives them an opportunity to provide us more information, ask us questions. Please tell us, if we need more information, anything like that. We want to make sure our findings are as accurate as possible. We will then go and draft our audit report. Our audit report goes through a series of reviews, and then we will bring that to the board, the written document. That'll be in a closed session where we will have an exit conference. This is, again, another opportunity for the district to provide us as much information as possible, clarify anything, provide us more context. Again, share if we have any errors or any information that we did not have that you think would be of use to us. The report is not final at this point. Then we take that, we make any changes that are necessary. The district then has the opportunity to respond. So the recommendations will be made to the board as the governing body for the district, and so it'll be the board's response. In our reports, the response is published with the recommendation within the body of the report, so the board has full opportunity to explain or say next steps, anything like that. And then it goes again through another review process. We like a review process. And then it'll go to the state auditor's office, state auditor for signature and final publication. All of our reports are public documents. If anyone is interested in what a school district report looks like, they're also all on our website to get an understanding and an idea of what similar, recommendations or size districts, not similar size districts, but other districts we've had recommendations regarding. All of our audits are conducted under governmental auditing standards for performance audits, which is different than your financial statement audit where they are opining on the numbers, the financial statements. We have objectives to look at internal controls, compliance over significant areas, and efficiency and effectiveness of management decisions, and those will be our objectives of the audit. Our audit period will be the 23-24 school year, again through July 31st. So we're adding another month just to cover any of the recent happenings, but we are not limited to that time period. So if things happen slightly before, but they're ongoing issues, we can cover those. Things that have happened subsequently that are significant. Any significant change to our objectives or our scope will be brought before the board. We will notify our contacts, and we will notify you if anything significantly changes to those. As I said, we're under government auditing standards. So with that, And with that report, all of our findings have to have sufficient appropriate evidence, so that whole field work period will be developing that evidence. Any of our findings will be well supported by information provided by you, gathered by us, and again, explained to you through the exit conference process, and to all relevant officials, so that we have as much information as possible. One thing that we ask and that we understand is we are cognizant of all of the other audit efforts that are currently under the board, the district is undergoing. We will be as sensitive to that as possible. We try not to duplicate effort. If your financial statement auditors are looking at a particular thing, we will determine if that's a significant area that we need to also review, so that we don't duplicate that effort. And then also, so we do not overtax district personnel. We also understand, especially with the requirements for when financial statement audits need to be turned in this fall, that can be a very busy time. So we will try to work around that as much with district personnel. And at any time, if there is a backlog or personnel need to refocus, just let us know. We can work around that. We're still trying to be as efficient with our work as possible, but we can try to plan accordingly. As our audits are generally a longer process, so we can refocus our work versus the financial statement auditors. With that, also, the audit is conducted under our auditing statute that allows us to audit school districts. So there will be no cost to the district. It will be cost to us. We encourage anyone, including board members, staff, faculty, parents, taxpayers of the district, to notify us if they have any concerns or any other areas that they would just like us to look at, areas that they want us to have input on. We won't say necessarily it'll be in the report, but we can consider that in our planning process. We have, under both statute and ethical standards, to maintain the confidentiality of all the information provided to us, which means we also won't then share it with the district or explain where we had information from, but we will consider that as all part of our audit. There is a confidential form you can complete through our website, where it goes through the Office of Administration, and so there's no way for us to understand who sent that. Then we also have a website, like I said, through the website. Our email address is moaudit@auditor.mo.gov, and you're more than welcome to send that. We also have an 800 number, 800-347-8597, that I will also provide to Dr. Borshade and any district officials if they want that number. It's also on our website, how to contact us if you have any concerns or want anything we would like to look at. With that, that's my presentation. If there are any questions.
Secretary Jones.
My question is, your office is required to do an audit of all school districts that are taxpayer funded?
No, we have the authority to audit a school district at our discretion, but we're not required to audit all school districts.
So all the schools that receive tax dollars in the city of St. Louis are not being audited like we are right now, just
No.
St. Louis Public Schools.
And in the St. Charles area, Francis House School District is currently under audit.
And so how does that change? Because that doesn't seem quite right to me, that all districts that receive tax dollars are not receiving the same type of treatment.
So, the auditor will mention this too. So it has become his priority that we audit school districts around the state. So since that time, we have started 4 school districts. So we are auditing in Independence right now. Kingston, K-14, is a smaller school district. Francis Howell and St. Louis Public Schools will be our 4th one. So as there are over 500 school districts in the state, and we have many other audit responsibilities, we have to, spread our time, but we try to have like 1 to 2 school districts a year. So as time goes on, we will continue to audit more school districts around the state.
Okay, I understand that now. My last question is about the city of St. Louis. You have so many charter schools here as well, and other religious institutions. When will you come and do an audit on them as well? Because I don't, that's just fair.
So, I absolutely understand. So I have participated in audits of 4 charter schools. And we have only had the authority to audit charter schools since 2012. It's 2008 for school districts, and then later we were added the authority to audit charter schools. So again, those are part of that process. We do every 6 months we create an audit plan, and if we get concerns about a school district or a charter school, anything that's brought to our attention, otherwise we look at anything that makes a school look riskier. But yes, charter schools are also within our purview to choose, and so we have done charter schools in this area and in Kansas City.
But it has to be a request, right?
It does not. We can audit a charter school at our discretion also now.
All right, thank you.
Since 2012.
Vice President Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Davis. I just kind of want to get some clarity on the scope of the audit. I'm a little unclear. Is the scope just defined as a performance audit? Is the scope not determined until after you do that initial survey?
So the scope right now is that audit period, anything that happens during that audit period that we talked about, the 23-24 school year, and then through July 31st into 24. As far as what areas we will focus on, yes, once we do that survey, we will determine that, where we find them to be more significant. We will communicate that, and generally it's pretty obvious where we're focusing. We'll start asking more questions about those areas. But yeah, at any time, if you have a question about what we're doing, it all should follow within those 3 objectives of looking at internal controls, looking at efficiency and effectiveness, and compliance with certain legal provisions.
And you did mention this briefly, and I appreciate it. I know the auditor had mentioned that there was a staff retirement at one point and an audit was delayed. And, we had those issues last year and are continuing to struggle with staffing in our finance department. So I know one of the concerns that we have is getting that external audit done and on time. And you said that you're going to work around that schedule. So I think September and October are the busiest times for that process. So you'll be able to work with the external auditor to sort of either share information or not burden the staff who are going to be really struggling to get that done. Did I hear that all correctly?
Yes, and in order for us to work with your external auditor, you just have to give us permission to share that information between us. And so as long as the district is fine with that, for us to share information that you've been provided, then we can work with them. So.
Well, I'd love to tell you who the external auditor is, but we're still waiting on the mayor who was supposed to appoint the external auditor in June and just issued an RFP that's not going to be done until August. So that's a whole nother concern.
Yes.
If you can help on that and audit their process for appointing our auditor, we'd love that. And one other question I have, I think the auditor said this could take as long as a year. Could it possibly take longer than a year, or is that just sort of the general time frame that you think this might take?
That's the general time frame we've found school districts to take. So like I said, that's why one of the reasons we will kind of get out of the way of your external auditor is they have a much tighter time frame, and then we can, do our work. Because of those objectives are pretty broad, we can do a fairly thorough look, and so it does take some time for us to complete that work. And again, that review process is extensive for our reports. Ideally, it doesn't take that much time, but we like to, have everybody pre-prepared that may be the time frame we're looking at. And it has been for our bigger school districts recently. Been about that amount of time.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming tonight and for explaining all this. And I look forward to working with you. Thanks.
Yes, thank you very much.
Any other questions for Ms. Davis?
No, I just want to say thank you, Ms. Davis. Looking forward to working with you.
Looking forward to working with you too. Thank you.
Board Member Val, did you have something? Thank you.
Next up, we will have Mr. Watson with our transportation report. Thank you. And before we get started with the transportation report, I just wanted to say thank you to all of the staff who have just been reaching out to all of our families, updating and sharing information as it relates to transportation. I'm going to now turn it over to Mr. Watson as he puts on his safety vest.
All right. Good evening to President Cousins, to the board. Dr. Borshade, interim superintendent, to the general audience, listening audience. I'm Square Watson, Chief Operations Officer. And tonight's presentation, we're going to provide an update regarding transportation. As I begin the presentation, listening to what President Cousins and how she started out this board meeting with just a timeline of events. So this slide that's in front of us speaks to the timeline of events that has occurred since March of this year. And as you can see, within this 5 to 6 month time frame, we've had a lot of moving pieces. Just to put it in perspective, generally when oftentimes when we go out for what we call an RFP, request for proposal, that process, particularly for a big account such as transportation, generally takes anywhere between 9 months to up to a year. We've been able to manage within this time frame since March, as you see, when our previous vendor notified the district that they will be terminating the contract. That was on March the 4th. And at that point, we established a critical response transportation task force that consisted of myself, Director Akinola, and other partners to come and develop an RFP, a request for proposal. At that point in time, we then, as we move into the month of April and May, we were in the process of vetting out our vendors, making requests and submitting our recommendations to the board. And then in May, we had the opportunity to work with some of our partners to provide some assessments of our current systems, where we looked at bail times. We looked at some of our stops. We figured out and tried to find strategies to maximize the utilization, as Chief Banks in her previous presentation mentioned, around how some of our buses were either half empty. And also we brought out opportunities such as opt-out and public transit with some of our partners such as Metro Bi-State. And then in June, one of the other components in Chief Banks' presentation was in regards to internalizing positions. So within the transportation department, we were able to bring in routing and a call center in-house. And then we explored more opportunities because the overall goal for the transportation department was reduce the number of routes. So in perspective, again, once the previous vendor who more or less terminated their contract with 1 more year remaining, and in this short time frame, we were able to not only try to internalize some of our in-house opportunities, but also be able to vet, review, do negotiations to bring on new vendors through the district, ultimately with the ultimate goal of transporting students at the start of the school year, which is on Monday. So in July, the board approved some of the recommendations and strategies. They include some of the bail time opt-out options, as we've mentioned before. And now here we are in August, where we're communicating. The goal is that we stay in front of not only the board, but to our constituents, to our families, to students, that we're work in progress. To again, ultimately our goal is to, at the start of school, make sure that all schools and all students arrive to school safely. So this next slide speaks to our current reality, the state of where we are to date, and these things change on a daily basis. As of now, we have the different various modes of transportation. So when I mentioned earlier around the request for proposal, we were able to secure 2-3 vendors that were actually able to provide yellow buses. So they will be able to transport more than 6,400 students within yellow buses. Our alternative modes of transportation, which means that we're using vans, sedans, SUVs, cabs, practically anything with 4 wheels, a steering wheel, and a motor, to make sure that we get students to school, because our goal is, again, to make sure that students come to school on the first day, August 19th. And we have to make it work given the timeline that was shown on the previous slide within this short frame. And then lastly, working with Metro, as we have in the past, where in this partnership with Metro, we have less than 1,600 students, and I think now that number may be around 1,400 students that will be utilizing public transit. Now, just to kind of go a little bit more into the public transit, because I know that one of the areas of concern was around safety. So we've been in correspondence with Metro, and some of our conversations around safety for not only the stops, but just the commute to schools. And the goal, and as we work with Metro, and again in partnership, Metro and their team has been really supportive of not only ensuring that to assist the district in transporting students, but they also have made it more of a convenience so that we've been able to streamline, in other words, provide at least one route for students to actually arrive to school. So in some of our conversations around safety, Metro has been committed to provide some visibility by patrolling routes. They also will have security that will be monitoring routes during these service hours. So most of our high schools that will be riding the public transit are on first tier. So in that hour, those service hours, Metro will provide some support in addition to our safety and security team that will be roving around and being visible at some of those high priority stops. So in conjunction with Metro, we'll provide that supervision, that presence, that visibility around those stops. And this not only goes for the stops for public transit, but we also, as you can see with my vest on top of my Easter suit, that we also provide with the Adopt a Stop program. This is led by Mr. Jackson, in which we're focusing on some of our volunteers. With our volunteers and as well as district staff and some other partners, such as some of our retired teachers of the district, some of our alumni, sororities and fraternities, our parents, our clergy, community partners, all of us together as a community will be housed, or basically man and woman, some of these stops in some of these areas to again make sure that our scholars and students arrive to school safely. They will see and be identified with the vest that you see that I have on. And then lastly, we'll go to the utilization of our cabs, vans, and sedans. So safety, again, was one of the areas that we want to make sure that we address. And so all of our safety, all of our vans, sedans, SUVs, we have these decals that Ms. Akinola has that will be on the side of the vehicles. Each of the drivers will make contact with the families prior to, and they've also been making constant communication this week leading up to the start of school. They will have identifiers. They will have an identifier number located within the windshield of their vehicles. So not only do the parents, and will the parents know by that identifier, because those manifests that Transportation Department will be sending out to families, letting them know that Square Transportation Company will be at your house. And I want to also emphasize that the cabs, vans, sedans, and SUVs will be door to door. So in other words, they'll be picking students up in front of their homes with that identifier, with the decals, with the badges, all of those things to ensure safety and to reassure families that the students, when they put them in the seats or put them in the vehicles, that they are identified and have been approved by the board and by our process doing background checks. Last few bullets speak to those families that have voluntarily opted out. And again, with the goal of the opt-out was given what the state of where we are, and to also frame that the driver shortage and the transportation issue is not just the St. Louis Public Schools crisis or issue. This is the constant conversation that we have and we've heard across the country. We're a part of the Council of Greater City Schools, and every time we go into the Council of Greater City Schools, some of those meetings, that's the topic of conversation. That's the task force that oftentimes we talk about, just because it's not, again, just not a St. Louis Public School issue, but this is a nationwide issue. These are our strategies and our solution to ensure at the end of the day that students not only arrive safely, but they arrive on time. And as the last point is that as we get more buses and they become available, we'll make adjustments, which means that we'll continue to communicate to families to somewhat say that now your child will be receiving bus services, and we'll be able to take them off of the public transit or metro, and we'll be able to remove them from our cabs, vans, sedans, or SUVs as we get more buses available through our vendors. So this next slide speaks out to what we plan on doing in these next few days and what we've done to kind of prepare ourselves for August 19th. So last Tuesday, we had a transportation solutions meeting in which we had a very good turnout at Vashon. We had over 300 families, students, and just in general, community support just around what are those solutions. At that meeting, we were able to provide the bus manifest or those student assignment sheets, and then had the opportunity to just listen, to take feedback. And we made sure that we answered all of the questions that were presented to us by last week. On our website, this is one of the ways that we're communicating to families, not only through emails, but we have frequently asked questions on our website, in which we've updated as of last week, as of last Friday. They will be updated as we get more and more questions. So the QR code, which you'll see on the last slide, will give you the opportunity as the listening audience to actually pose and present more questions that we may be able to answer and provide those in the FAQs. And then we'll continuously provide updates. Some will be daily, but at least weekly you will hear from the transportation team. On our website and through Labor Day, our goal is to over-indate you with communications, telling you what are we doing in regards to our transportation. When we have the opportunities to have yellow buses, to remove or take away from our alternative vendors, that information will be communicated to you. And again, the call center. So we have the call center, which again is a newer function in-house. Ms. Akinola and her team has been working diligent just around making sure that we respond to calls in a timely manner. We are getting a lot of calls right now, just when it comes to questions around the student assignment sheets, which again, families were issued that out last week. The call to action that I would ask for families and parents is making sure that your information, your contact information is updated either through the schools or through our student information system. This is how we get our information, and this is the information that is pulled so that we are able to provide efficient routing. As we kind of going through this process with the call center and providing student assignment sheets, some of the challenges is around not being able to contact families, not having a valid phone number, not having valid email addresses or even addresses. And again, this is part of the process that we use to make sure that we can provide the routing and the transportation to our students and to our families. So as we conclude this presentation, and before we open it up for questions, I also wanted to give flowers to the transportation team. That is Mr. Nathan Munzik. These are our routers. Victor Williams, Marquita Brown, Ms. Renee Stephanie, who's our routing director or specialist or manager, sorry. Mr. Mel Wren, she's our operations manager. Mr. Mel Wren, and last but not least, Ms. Toya Nakanola, the Director of Transportation. I also like to thank our safety and security. I'd like to thank our teachers as they are getting schools ready. My school leaders, again, everyone is in this together as we kind of arm up and get ourselves ready for the start of school. Will it look ugly? Yes. It's going to look we got lemons and we're making lemonade. And our goal, again, is to make sure that on August 19th, that we're going to provide transportation through all of the modes, through yellow buses, through our partners with Metro, through our safety and security officers, but we're going to ensure that we get our students to school for the first week and beyond. So at this point, we will open it up for any questions.
Secretary Jones.
At our last meeting, I put a call out for companies or businesses that would help to provide gas vouchers for those families who might incur extra expenses trying to get their children to school. Because I know it's hard, just when you're a family, you're trying to take care of your children and getting them back and forth to school. So I'm going to ask one more time, please, businesses, will you please consider, or whomever you are, to donate some gas vouchers to our families who might really need them. Thank you.
Thank you for all of the hard work that you all have been putting into this. Just a couple of questions. Do we know the number of how many students will no longer be riding in smaller cabs due to the additional buses that First Student has provided us? I think 20 buses, is that correct? Is it I don't know if you have the number. But.
So, yeah, we'll get
Let's
that
get back to
information
them with that
to you.
question.
Yeah, so we'll provide that information to the board.
If you could, that would be great. Thank you. And then you said here, as more buses become available, continue to make adjustments. Do you expect more buses to become available, and would those come from First Student, or would those come from anyone who's offering more buses?
A combination. So at this point, anyone that has buses available, we do have another RFP out now that's posted, and I think it closes tomorrow. So that'll be an opportunity to see what proposals that we get that may open us up for other opportunities for additional buses.
I'd also like to chime in with that. I'm going to be meeting with First Student so that we can continue this partnership. And they said that as more buses become available, they will definitely let us know, buses and drivers.
Thank you. And then just one final question. I was able to attend the transportation event at Vashon High School, and I know you all are collecting feedback continuously from families. Can you highlight some of the feedback that you all have received from parents and family members that have maybe improved some process, or you guys have implemented some of the things based on the feedback that was provided to you from our parents and families?
Some of the feedbacks that we receive from parents centers around safety, and for those secondary mode of transportation for their students, as to how would they know they don't know these drivers, they don't, and about background checks, and we make sure that based on our contract that all the drivers have background checks. So it's and then they were concerned about the kindergartners and the preschoolers being in those sedans or vans without car seats or booster seats, just any safety restraint system. I want to assure you now that we have about 5 of our companies that will be providing their own restraints of car seats or booster seats. The problem now, however, is about the weight. So they're more concerned about the car seats. There's no way that they will be able to accommodate those car seats in vehicles and then keep those car seats. But the booster seats, yes, they would. So it's all, the questions have all been about the safety and those kindergartners, and then we're arresting those concerns.
Chief Watson, did you want to? Thank you.
Let me add a little bit to more of the conversation around booster seats. As Ms. Akinola mentioned, that has been a lot of questions around child restraints. So I'm going to read just what our obligations are. So when it comes to booster seats or child seats, the statutory child safety restraint requirements for children under 8 do not apply to Missouri school buses. In addition, the statute also carves out an exception for public carriers for hires. So neither the Missouri statutes nor the state code define what a public care for hire is, and our legal team is currently investigating that. But what we have done, because we have been getting a lot of those questions around booster seats or car seats, but in particular to booster seats, through the foundation, we were able to purchase approximately 1,350 booster seats, and they will be provided to schools. So there'll be communications going out to the school and school leaders and to families around how you could, particularly if you are being impacted by the use of cabs, vans, sedans, et cetera, but it doesn't necessarily apply to yellow buses. But schools will be receiving those booster seats this week. And so when we have those open houses, families will be able to receive those booster seats. But there'll be more communications that'll be provided before the end of the week to not only families but to school leaders around those booster seats.
So you're saying we don't have to provide those, but we are?
That is correct.
Thank you.
I guess some people didn't catch that.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's okay.
I guess some people didn't catch that. We don't have to, but we are.
That is correct. We don't have to provide booster seats or car seats, but doing our due diligence and ensuring the safety and hearing the feedback from the community and parents, we are going to be providing.
So we going above and beyond
Yes, sir.
the call of duty.
Absolutely.
I just want to make sure, because I think like some people, me myself personally, if I had a child, I'd be clapping right about now. But that's me. I mean, I'd be clapping because, that's just me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Board Member Val.
So, real quick, we've mentioned the customer service number in the call center. Can you shout out that number in case there's anybody watching who wants to write it down? And where can they find that on the district website?
The customer service number is 314-633-5107. And it's on the first page of the transportation website, boldly written.
Thank you.
And then the email address for the transportation department is slpstrans, TRANS, at slps.org.
Thank you. I appreciate that. My next question is surrounding how many volunteers we have so far, signed up versus trained and ready to go, background checks done. Where are we at on our volunteer program for safety?
So currently we have 20 volunteers. There are still some others coming down the pipeline. Speaking with Mr. Jackson, 20 have signed up, and we'll be continuing to onboard each month. They will receive training, and there's also the opportunity, once the times change, that we'll have the volunteers to kind of rotate. So as it gets darker in the evening, we'll be able to make use of those volunteers. But currently we have 20 that will be signed up for the Adopt a Stop.
And how many stops do we have total that need a volunteer?
We said there were 47 stops.
47 stops.
47 have been identified as needing a volunteer.
Yes, ma'am.
So we have 27 people, maybe, that.
Can you talk about
will
our ambassador
step up?
program?
So in addition to those, with the 20 we have, we're also making use of our ambassador program within the district. That includes staff, including myself, that will be out of these stops. District staff will get the opportunity to kind of showcase and more or less kind of be the example and not just necessarily say and ask others and we're not doing the same. So district staff, central office staff, and in addition to some of our safety and security officers, they will be a part of being at some of those bus stops for the first 2 weeks of school.
Thank you. And in the vans and SUVs, the larger transport vehicles, are we trying to put multiple students from a school in those routes, or is it one student per vehicle no matter the size of vehicle?
Multiple.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question is, we mentioned, I think it was 1,700 before, we're projected to be writing Metro, and now it's down to 1,600.
1446.
Okay, and how does that compare to previous years when we had students writing Metro?
We had almost the same, if not more, because we had all the six high schools that were on Metro.
Okay, thank you. I think that was it. Thanks.
Secretary Jones.
My last two questions were about the electric buses. Do we still have those buses, and will we be running those brand-new buses? And the last one is actually about the stops. I wanted to know, what are the hours of operation? Just say, for instance, I'm driving down the street and I see a bunch of children at the stop, and there seems to be a problem. The number, how late will the number be? I will be able to contact those people. So after 5, will someone answer the phone?
10 minutes.
Pardon me?
Your question was how?
My question is about, just say for instance, I'm driving down the street and I see a potential problem at a bus stop where our students are, and I want to call, and it might be after hours, or I see a student that might have some issues. Will this number still work after 5 o'clock?
Yes,
after school hours?
we will be there till 6, and after 6 o'clock, we call the security main number.
Okay.
Yes.
So the security number will also be
314-865-2020.
We'll make sure it's available.
Yes.
In regards to in regards to electric buses, yes.
Go ahead. Electric buses.
So electric buses.
Okay, I'm sorry. Hold on, Aaron. Dr. Borshay wanted to speak. Go ahead, Dr.
I wanted to
Borshay.
just say, in terms of electric buses, they won't be available before 25, 26. We have a meeting with them in September, but they won't be available before the 25, 26 school year.
But we do have them.
Yes.
Vice President Davis.
Yeah, I just a couple of follow-up questions on the other board members' questions. So, Ms. Ekanola, you mentioned when we had the 6 high schools that didn't have regular bus transportation but were Metro. That was 2022, right?
Correct.
So those were 6 high schools that we started out the 2022 year, and that went for about 2 months or longer, where there was no bus transportation at all.
August to November.
Okay. And those, in lieu of that, Metro passes were made available to those students. Did we have any incidents regarding security for our students in 2022 using Metro passes?
There was just few incidents, and it was at those at Gateway, because the concentration of students at the gas station, and we had our securities there all the time. So,
but that was off. That was off campus, off the bus. But that was just from people arriving on the bus or getting ready to ride the bus.
Getting on the bus to go home. Yeah,
Okay.
it was always, because then you have a higher concentration of students all going home at the same time, and they will congregate at the quick trip. So we always had our security there until all the students dispatched from that station. But nothing major on the buses at all. We never received any major complaints from the bus company, from Metro or from the community.
So, in terms of how our security is going to work in cooperation with Metro Security, could you explain how you've worked that out? I was a little disheartened and concerned about the CEO of Bi-State's comments in the paper today. And it doesn't sound from Mr. Watson like you have a similar take on how we've been working together. So could you just sort of explain how that's working?
Good evening, President Davis. This is Colonel Davis. I'll try to address that for you. We had a meeting within Metro, and what we come up with is the fact that Metro talked about the limited security staff that they may have. In supporting them, one, we vetted most of the stops. And out of those stops, we've decided, well, not decided, we found the stops that were a concern for us, where we need to really make our concentrations on. So those stops along those routes, we're going to handle. Incidents on the bus that involve our students, if there's an incident on the bus, Metro will call our dispatch. We will respond to that space. We'll deal with the incident. The Metro bus moves on. We'll handle it just like it. They're not designating buses for us. These are public buses, and because of that, we don't have jurisdiction on side of that bus. But once we get our kids off, we're able to handle the incident and deal with it like that. But they have agreed to provide security along some of those routes as much as they can. And the thought is we'll supplement that security with our presence and to respond to the calls that actually happen on the bus.
So you have been in communication with Metro?
Absolutely. I've talked to all of them.
Oh, you've talked to them?
Yes.
But somehow there was some level of communication that there wasn't any communication?
We have all their information, all their numbers. They have all our numbers.
Oh, okay.
And we've come up with how we want to start on the 19th.
Okay. Board Member Hubbard.
We have
Oh,
almost.
can I have one
I'm
more?
sorry.
We have weekly
Go
meetings
ahead.
with them,
Okay.
with Metro.
Metro bus, like Metro and Bi-State? or-
Metro Bi-State,
Okay.
yes. With
You-
the security, we have one-on-one.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we have weekly meetings with them.
Interesting. Vice President Davis, you had another question, sir?
Yeah, I just had one more question because I'm a little confused, and I know it's a constantly sort of evolving thing, and but in terms of the car seats and the booster seats, so if I understand it right, the foundation has generously provided funding for a number of booster seats, and those booster seats are going to stay with the cab driver or the van driver for pickup and drop off for those kids. Is that right?
So currently, what we're exploring is that once the booster seats arrive to the schools this week, parents will have the opportunities to pick up their booster seats from the schools. It will be the parents' responsibility to strap the students in when the vehicles arrive, and someone from the school staff will be at the school once the students arrive at the school for once they're dropped off, for that staff at the school to actually not only unstrap the student but also take the booster seats and bring them back inside of the school. The reason being is because of the how we're situated with our transportation. That same provider in the AM may not be the same provider in the PM. So this will give us just an opportunity to be consistent and making sure that at the end of the day we'll be able to provide that additional safety restraint for those students.
And so, so the schools are gonna at drop off, someone is gonna be there to assist, like they normally do with younger kids in cabs, assist, or even younger kids in pickup. Someone's gonna assist the child out. They're gonna take the booster seat and store it for them. It's not gonna be kindergartners having to walk around with their own booster seats all day.
Yes, sir. That is correct. Staff will support. School staff will support in that space.
And so if a parent wants to use their own car seat, is that an option to take the car seat with the child, put it in the morning, and then the staff take it out, school staff take it out and keep it and put it back in? Or are we just restricting that option for the district foundation purchased booster seats?
So were you specifically talking about car seats or
Yeah, car seats, right? Or yes, yeah, probably the if a child normally rides a car seat, can the parent arrange to use that car seat in the same way?
So that'll be optional, and that's something that we're exploring with each vendor.
Okay.
One of the concerns when it comes to our vendors is that we don't want our transportation providers to touch any of the students. So if the parent is going to provide that car seat or booster seat, that will be optional, and we'll provide some communications around what that may look like.
So if a parent has a concern about that, who should they, and they want to arrange this before the first day of school, who should they contact? Should they contact the school principal? Should they contact the transportation number? Should they contact the vendor directly? Because I mean, I have one of my kids is assigned to one of the cab companies, and they've been very proactive in communicating. Who should they address that concern to sort of work out those situations?
It would be on a case by case in terms of how the school wants to respond to that.
Okay, well, how do I figure out that, which is my case?
So
should you reach out to the principal and
Yes.
then, is that the way to start?
That's the way to start.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, they need to reach out to the principals, and then the principal can contact the transportation department, and then we'll work with that individual vendor.
And is the hope, to prioritize elementary schools with yellow buses to sort of avoid the situation?
Yes, so any more buses that we receive, the priority will be for the elementary.
Any other questions, Vice President Davis?
Oh, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Board Member Hubbard.
I just wanted to say thank y'all. This is such a huge endeavor, and there's so many moving pieces. I know, I'm sorry. Thank you. So many moving pieces, and I know it's changing every day. And, I need to email and see what one of my kids is doing, and I will. But there's just, I know y'all are working so hard, and the customer service interface can be so difficult. But I just wanted to say we really appreciate your work, and thank you.
I think one of the questions that was asked was in regards to the stops, how many stops it was, the metro stops. And I think what I found interesting, and of course she wouldn't say this, but the interim superintendent, Dr. Borshade, actually got up at 4:45 in the morning, caught an Uber to the furthest bus route on the metro because she wanted to ride the route herself to get a clear understanding of what any of our high school students would be experiencing in regards to the route. She didn't have security, there was no news, media, no news, because that's not what she's there to do. She wanted to get a full understanding of what one of our children, because what the board has asked and what you all were speaking on, she wanted to get a full understanding of what this would be for one of our children getting up in the morning, having to ride this route. And from that, if I'm not mistaken, that's where you all had the opportunity to kind of do some reassessments, looking at how to ensure, like what Colonel Davis is saying, where the hot spots could potentially be, where we need to ensure we have safety officers, where Metro should actually be in different spots. I think that speaks volumes to really let you know it's really not about the song and dance. It's about really trying to have a clear understanding of what we're dealing with. Transportation this isn't a new problem. Transportation is a nationwide issue, and what Chief Banks saying is true. I do want to commend those that have stepped up. I know we have Ms. Tracy, who is the president of the Parent Action Council. She did a call out, and I will hope what Secretary Jones is asking for, that those donations will go toward that group that's helping during the carpooling or what have you, that hopefully those gas costs can help support what that group is trying to do. But it's going to take all of us to try to come up with solutions to this transportation problem. This is a major issue. And I think we need to recognize the other thing that has occurred, because a lot of the staff from student services have come in on the weekend. Dr. Borshaden, could you explain what exactly you all have been doing in regards to the phone calls that are actually being made, and how many calls have actually been made to families in regards to this?
So phone calls started, I want to say maybe 2 weekends ago, and there was a call to action from Student Support Services led by Dr. Dano and Dr. Smith, as well as Ms. L, and they gathered Student Support Services, family, community specialists, students who work, staff who work with special education, and they came in on Saturdays and made close to 3,000 calls, but by that following Wednesday, over 7,000 calls had been made, and families were so appreciative of the fact that people were calling on the weekend, making sure that they understood what their route was, they were answering questions, and just extremely excited about the fact that someone was reaching out to them. In addition to that, we also have our principals, we have our staff members who are making phone calls to families now, just welcoming them to school and answering any questions that they have about the school year. And so I just want to say thank you to our principals, thank you to our teachers, thank you to everyone who has just continued to contribute to this mission, and that is to get students to school on August 19th. Thank you.
I also want to recognize, if I'm not mistaken, I think Local 420 has started a calling tree and campaign as well. They're supporting to push for, like what Chief Watson is saying and what we're all saying. The goal is to make August 19th a success. The goal is to ensure that our students are arriving safe to school. The goal is 20 volunteers, in my opinion, is not enough. We need more volunteers. As board members, I charge and ask that you all step up, if you can, to volunteer. I know our time here as board members, we do volunteer, but if you have the time to volunteer for the next couple of weeks, I ask that we all step up and try to assist in this, because this is a crisis. News media, hey, y'all got cameras, come volunteer. We need all hands on deck at this point. Is there any other questions? Board Member Val.
Well, first of all, I think we had asked to volunteer in the past, and we were told that it was not within our purview. We weren't allowed to because of liability, so maybe that's changed. But we should definitely check and make sure that we can, because I'd sign up.
We volunteer now.
I mean,
I
at bus
volunteer
stops,
about 80
specifically
hours a
around
week.
transportation.
Yeah.
But on that note,
You can volunteer.
I did get a text message from a couple of people who would like to volunteer. Can you let us know how they can sign up, where they go, what do they do? They're watching live right now, and they would love to offer some help.
So I'm going to get Mr. Ronell Jackson, who leads this space, to provide the information for volunteers.
Thank you very much, Board Member Val. You can have those lovely people call our office, 314-345-4577. And someone from our team will be glad to respond.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the 2 people who texted me during this meeting for watching live. So that was, I hope we're ending on a positive note there. So hopefully we have 22 people now instead of 20.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much. And next up, we will have before and after school care with Dr. Smith leading this charge. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't know how to turn it on. Brings me great pleasure to bring this presentation of before and after care. Our parents instill a lot of faith and trust in the district to educate their children, and they also partner with us on before and after care for their children, and we are very prideful in the trust that they put in us for this programming. So with all things, we always want to make sure that we ground our through lines and what we're doing on behalf of families. So we talk about our strategic values and what it means for us, our values across all of our student goals, and our promises that we make on behalf of our students and what we provide for them as that through line. Again, talking about our student success goals. We know that these are flagship goals by our board, but we know that we do have additional goals that we're working on throughout all of the areas of our K-12 education and our pre-K students in the district. And our portraits of a graduate, these are the things that we make sure that we are instilling in our individuals and the products that they will be once they have their experience in SLPS. We feel like their programming, the before and after care, also helps to make sure that we're mitigating these circumstances for them, that they do become everything from a college and career-ready individual to a collaborator as they take their rightful places in society. This is the flyer, the beautiful flyer that we put out around our work for before and after care, advertising how we were providing before and after care in all of the elementary schools in our district. It also gave information about the programming that would take place in those locations, as well as the tiers and the time that those tiers would take place. So we want to make sure that there's a couple of things that we point out about before and after care, just so that everyone is informed. All elementary schools will have both before and after care programming.
How
The number
many?
of slots for each of those schools,
How many? How many?
all, that's the key word. The number of slots for those sites was based upon previously offered programming, and then all new sites were provided with a minimum of 15 slots. So those spots that did not even have before care offerings before were offered an additional 15 slots to provide that care and support of families. Programs are a combination of SLPS funded, 21st Century Grant funded, partner sponsored, and paid programming, which I will talk about each of those a little later. Families are responsible for transporting their students to and from before and after care programming, so getting their students to the sites before school starts, and then picking up their students after the programming ends at 6 o'clock p.m. each evening. We did have online registration that opened on August 6th, and we'll talk about what those registration numbers look like as well. Programming will launch on the first day of school and will last until the last day of school. That is something that has been different than what we provided in years past. Before times, programming started at the second week of school with some of our grant-funded programs not even beginning until October. But I will repeat that for the people who didn't hear it in the back. Programming will launch on the first day of school, August 19th, and will last until the last day of school for all of our students that are in those programs. So again, some additional information about that before and after care. Our SLPS managed before care programming begins an hour and 15 minutes before the start of the school day. And all of the students released from before care will be released in time to eat breakfast before the start of the school day. Our SLPS managed aftercare programming will end at 6 p.m. each day and include both a snack and a full course meal for the students participating. Yes, that's somebody said, exactly. Our elementary schools are only on tiers 2 and 3 according to those bill times, so that is why you do not see programming at the tier 1 schedule, because that applies to our high schools. So we're going to talk about these numbers, and I'm going to have to blur my glasses a little bit, so I'm going to look at this screen up here that's a little closer to me because I can't see all the way over there even with my glasses. Just to talk through these numbers a little bit. So we started in 2023-2024. Our available before care slots was 1,159 slots for those students participating. In 24-25, we're going to be providing 1,694 slots. So that's an increased capacity for the school year of 535 additional slots. We had a survey, which I mentioned to you earlier, that opened on the 9th. As of that 9th, we had 632 students enrolled in our before care programming. For our available aftercare programming in 23-24, we offered 2,643 slots for aftercare. This year, 23-24, we're going to be providing 3,061 slots. So that's an increased capacity of 418 slots for aftercare. And again, on that opening day of that survey, we had 809 families that had registered their students for aftercare. So families completed the before and aftercare registration survey in their SIS parent portal. The school site supervisors then contacted those families individually to confirm their assignment either into the program or to let them know that they were waitlisted, and each of those calls have been followed up by a letter. The survey will remain open all school year, and that way we can be flexible in reassigning those spaces across schools as the needs shift from school to school. Some additional numbers. We're going to talk about the numbers by the budget. So our before care staffing, the expense for our before care staffing is going to be about $493,050. The funding for our aftercare staffing is $2,543,100. We received 21st Century Grant funding, which I talked about in the first slide about some of the funding modalities that we have for our before and after care. So we get that money for about $250,425. Arches, which is one of our partners, provides us programming or funding based on our student registration. So we anticipate about $148,000 in revenue from our Arches funding. Our meals and snacks will cost about $3,072,815, but we do get reimbursed for those meals and snacks, so we have that revenue line as $3,072,815. So in total, to provide our before and after care programming, it costs about $6,108,995. And so we'll be reimbursed about $3,471,240. So that gives us a grand total of our by the numbers budget for our after school programming and before care programming of about $2,637,725. So I told you before that there were several types of programming, so I just want to spend a little time, if it pleases the board, just to kind of talk through those different modalities so you kind of understand where we are and what that programming would look like at those sites. So we have in one service model our SLPS managed free sites. So you see here, this is just one of the slides that show what our free sites are under the SLPS managed free sites. So this is the school name, their before care time, because again, the before care time starts an hour and 15 minutes before the school day. We showed you the number of slots at each of those sites for their before care slots, and then we showed you their aftercare time, so immediately after the school day ends until 6:00 p.m. for each of those sites. And then we showed you the number of aftercare slots. So for example, Adams just being the first one, they have 50 before care slots that we are providing, and we have 129 aftercare slots that we are providing free of charge to families based on those before care and aftercare times. Anywhere on the slide where you see a 15 means that that site had zero availability of participation in previous years, and so the district again has provided at least 15 slots to help families at those particular locations. So anywhere you see a 15, used to have a 0 in the previous year, and again we're increasing our capacity this year, so that's why you see the 15 there. I'm just going to take time to spend a little time on each of the next slides just so you see again the rest of our managed by SLPS free sites. Again, those start times and end times, as well as the capacity of those sites for their before care slots and their aftercare slots. Again, the same thing. We just have several. You see, the majority of our sites are SLPS managed free sites, meaning that we have our own staff employed to provide the before and after care, and there's no cost to families. Another service model is we have partner and SLPS managed free sites. So these sites are still free. However, SLPS manages the before care at these sites, and then we have partners that have funded and will provide the care at the sites after school. So those partners are Hopewell, who will be providing the site support at Herzog. We have Northside providing the support at Peabody, and then we have Gene Slade providing the support at Woodward. So again, you see those 15 before care slots that's provided by the district, and you see those aftercare slots that's provided by the respective partners that we just shared on this site. So these again are partner and SLPS managed free sites to our families. The next model we have is our SLPS school managed. These are parent paid sites, and we have two of those. We have Sticks, and we also have Wilkinson. We do want to point out that these sites have had long-standing parent paid before and after care programming. So we did not disrupt these models, and we maintained those models at the same service levels that they have been provided in previous years. So for Sticks, they have 157 before care slots, and they have 152 aftercare slots. And for Wilkinson, they have 80 before care slots, and they have 124 aftercare slots, which again maintains the same service model that they provided in years past. And then we also have partner managed SLPS parent paid sites. So these are managed by partners, and we have two sites again in this model. We have Betty Wheeler, and we also have Malincrot. And again, wanted to point out that these sites have had long-standing parent-paid before and aftercare programs that have been run by the YMCA for years. And again, we maintain those service models at the same capacity that have been provided in years past. 50 before care slots and 50 aftercare slots at these sites. And then again, in more exciting news, we do have all our after-school clubs coming soon. You see here, this is just a mere glimpse of some of the wonderful partners that will be providing some of the additional care and support at our schools. We do believe that before and after care programming is an extension of the school day. It's not just sit and get for kids. It is additional learning, additional opportunities for inquiry, and all the things that we said at the beginning about helping them be collaborators and critical thinkers, and make sure that they're college and career ready. We provide a lot of those opportunities for them in aftercare. A lot of these partners, the ones that you see here, are already confirmed partners that have gone through the process with Ms. Erin Kane to be vetted as part of the MOU process, and we still have more that are on deck waiting to be approved as MOU partners or contracted partners that will be providing these services in schools. These services are slated to begin before or after October 1st in our programs. I hope I did my due diligence about answering some questions about before and after care, but I will open it up for some questions if some remain.
I know it's going to look different site to site, obviously with different programs available and staffing availability, but could you talk about a little bit what the aftercare and before care program looks like? Like I'm a kid walking in, who do I talk to, who do I see, how many teachers will I recognize, are there kids of all ages, are they broken into different groups? Just kind of what does that feel like from a parent or a student standpoint?
Absolutely, great question. So as you mentioned that it is kind of school specific, but what we can assure you is that kids will be greeted by a staff member that they are familiar with that works in their building. Is a staff member that is on staff at that particular school, so it's always going to be a familiar face. We do have additional support that's going to be in the building. We have support from our safety and security officers, which is another friendly face that parents and students recognize when they come into the buildings. It's not about students just sitting on a gym floor. As you saw, some of our partners that's partnering with us, they're going to be providing hands-on, innovative, extension of classroom activities. What we're really excited about is the extension of reading that's going to be happening in all programs. We had additional iPad carts and one-to-one iPads available for our students, so we make sure that they have at least 20 minutes of reading for every single student after school, and we are super excited about that and partnering with just the promise we made to them from our Literacy of the Lou to make sure we're supporting families around literacy and more literate students across the district. So in the after-school program, the same things. We do have additional partners anywhere from Girls on the Run to Science Works to B-Works, teaching kids about their bodies, more social and emotional support, those types of things. Again, when those programs will visit or be provided in their schools depends on the rotation of those schedules, but those students will get to have touch points of all of those partners in their schools. So again, there will be designated spaces in schools that these activities will happen in, but again, it's done by people that's in their school that's familiar with their students, that see their students every day, so students would know that they have another trusted adult that they're used to seeing that's going to be providing their care.
And and I think that's really important, so thank you for that. Is there going to be any access for quiet spots to do homework or access to the library to encourage reading?
Yes, those are some of the things that already occur in our programming, and we will definitely make sure those things continue. Again, as we partner with our after school around building literacy, we'll definitely make sure that those libraries are just warehouses of places that kids can come and read books, all the types of books that they want to read, and that additional programming will happen in those spots after school.
Thank you. And last question, if you could explain, I guess, the disparity in numbers, like, you know, some of these slots are 15 available before 125 aftercare slots at one site, and another site is 128 before and after. So is that based on demand, or is it based on teacher capacity, combination of both? And
Right.
how are we making sure all kids are being served that need to be served?
Absolutely. So where you saw 15, the original number was 0. So we're definitely trying to start somewhere. We're trying to build that capacity. Again, it's starting off with the staff that we have, the staff that have signed up and volunteered for those positions. But of course, with all things, once we see that the need has grown, we'll definitely make sure that we're responding to the needs of our families.
Thank you.
In regards to that question, it probably matters when you come to the enrollment numbers as well, doesn't it?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Any other questions? Board Member Hubbard.
This was another thing with so many moving pieces, and thank you for getting it done so that our families can have stability going forward.
And thank you, and I won't take credit for this. I have a dynamic team that makes it easy to lead in student support services. I work with a group of people that show up and show out for kids on a daily basis without complaint. So thank you for Ms. Chevelle Stewart and Ms. Dr. Sarah Briscoe, who helped with the before and after care management, Dr. Dino, who helped make sure we had this presentation solid for you today. So thank you again for all the hands that's working on behalf of our kids in SOPS.
Secretary Jones.
I just want to say thank you for being a fabulous author. Your children's books are really great, and I just hope that other people get a chance to read them. Thank you for being that.
Absolutely, thank you.
Board Member West.
Thank you so much. Could you provide details about the staffing piece? Who are the staff, and how that process goes in terms of making sure enough staff are at the school for both before and after care for the SLPS managed sites?
Right, so it's a collective effort. So we do have identified site supervisors at each of those sites. So they do a lot of the work to make sure that we have the right staff and identifying staff that will take place that will participate in those before and after care programming, along with the school leaders. So it's a joint decision with those individuals around who will provide the staffing for those children. A lot of the staff is repeat staff. They love our children. They tend to come back to those before and after programs. So those parents who do participate will see that it's still the same familiar faces that have loved on their children for years that's still providing that same level of care for their students. And the ratio is 15-1, so that's how you kind of got the numbers and how the amount of staffing is determined based on the budget.
Vice President Davis, did you have any questions?
I don't. I just also want to say thank you. You know, aftercare, I've been complaining about it for years, and I feel like this might be the first time that it seems like we are being a little more proactive, even though I know that this was a lot of changes at the last minute. I'm just really impressed that not only have we been able to sort of pull together this plan to add increased capacity, but it also sounds like it's a foundation that we can build on. So every year we're not scrambling. 'Cause I mean, you know, since the pandemic in particular, it's really changed the model. And it sounds like if we can land on this model and be able to fund it, it's really just going to be a good service for our parents and families to just make it easier and our schools more accessible. So yeah, kudos to you, Dr. Smith, and your whole team. And I have to say, Dr. Borshade and Dr. Dino, I really feel like you've been listening to parents and to principals and the direction that you gave to put this plan in place. It's almost really unprecedented because, like I said, I've been complaining about this since before I was on the board, and this is the first time it sounds like, you know, again, you've listened and you put this into effect. So I'm excited. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And our final presentation would just be an update on registration and how we have moved it to online. We will hear from our Chief of Schools, Dr. Dino.
Good evening, Board President, members of the Board, Acting Superintendent Borshade. I'm Allison Dino, your Chief of Schools. I'm here tonight to provide just a brief update on our online registration process and where we are in terms of how many kids we're expecting to come on the first day next week. As we do all things, we really are working in line with our values, particularly in the area of family and community partnerships here and engage students and family learners. We want to ensure that all families have the ability to register for school at a time that is convenient for them. This supports all of our student success goals because if students aren't in school, they're not able to do reading and math and all of those things, and part of having a climate and culture is being responsive to our community needs. This aids us in supporting all the aspects of Portrait of a Graduate, helping students to be college and career ready, change agents, critical thinkers, communicators, competent, culturally aware, and collaborator. We can't do that for our students if we're not willing to model it and try it out for ourselves as well. So one of the things that we did this summer is we launched online registration for kindergarten through 12th grade for new families attending our neighborhood schools. So we did that so that every family doesn't have to go to a school and see that the door is closed and there's no one there. They can still register when it works for them. On the district's landing page, you'll see registration now open. Anyone can click that register now button. Also, we push that on every individual school's landing page. We have these flyers up all over the schools. They can click right onto the QR code. What happens when you click on the QR code or you go to the link is it takes you right to the student information portal. For families who already have students in school, they can log right in. And when they add their new student, they're not having to put their address in again, their phone number again, all the same information. They don't have to, it's not a, you're not doing it in triplicate anymore. The idea is you're attaching your new student to your existing family. And the same with our new families, they can create their own account right there and be registered. So what happens next is that families begin the registration process, and then staff on our fabulous recruitment and registration team are reviewing addresses every single day, and they're assigning students to their neighborhood schools. Sometimes when families log in, they're not sure which school is theirs, and so this is a great way for us to match their addresses. And then they work with school staffs, and school staffs notify our newly registered students and families to welcome them. You're hearing that a lot today. We're making a lot of phone calls this summer. We want everyone to feel excited about coming to school, especially our new kiddos. And so what happens next is a school staff member calls them, because although you start the registration process online, there are some things you can't do, like you can't upload documents about your address or birth certificates. That's still something that you do in person at this point with your school. And so we're making that connection for them so they know they can come and do those things. So like I said, our online registration opened at a soft launch on July 19th. By August 2nd, more than 250 families had visited the parent portal to start the registration process. Some of them were existing parents who wanted to go in and make sure they were updating addresses or phone numbers, et cetera. And some of them were new families. I want to point out on this slide, you'll see on the far right the number of students we had enrolled on the first day of school last year. And then on the left, you see the number of students who are currently registered to start school next week. What I really noticed here is our kindergarten number is much higher registered this year than started on the first day of school last year. That speaks to families being able to register for school. They're not just roll-up numbers, right? Kindergartners are new registrants, generally speaking, so this looks to me like we're going to have a great start to our school year. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Anderson and his team. They have been working diligently. Every day they're giving me new enrollment numbers. And just yesterday alone, we had registered 33 new students before 5 p.m. yesterday. So every day we're getting new students in this way. And like I said, our goal is to make registration as painless as possible for families and make it available to them at a time that's convenient to them. And then our school staff can work on the back end to make sure they're connected to the correct schools and that they get a warm welcome when they come in. Thank you.
Any questions? Board Member Hubbard.
I just want to say thank you so much for making it so parents of, more than one kid can only enter their information once. That is huge. I'm so thankful that that's there now.
Thank you.
So to be clear, in the past, we didn't have online registration, correct?
That's correct.
So as a parent who wanted to register their child, they will have to either go up to the school or they will have to come to 801 or that, like, it was much challenging
Yes.
to be able to do it. So this was able to occur this year, and how quickly was it able to be launched, do you know?
So we actually launched it in less than a week after we started talking about how to make it happen for families.
And to see the number, can you go back to the slide before the question slide? And to see the increase, it's this, right there, yeah, by the numbers. You had it, keep going, right there. So to see the numbers, like you were saying, kindergartner last year, enrollment and registration, we were at 1,117 kindergarten registration. Now we have already 1,444 students. And I'm looking at the highest, third grade we had in 2023, 1,046, and now we're already at 1,504. And this is due in part to them being able to register online.
Yeah, we absolutely think that this is due in part to parents being able to register online and do it at a time that works for them. As you all know, our schools were busy with getting different construction projects this summer with Camp SLPS, and so the school office maybe wasn't open when it was convenient for a parent to go in. But the nice part about having it be online and being able to go, like I said, people can click a link or use a QR code. The yard signs for this actually are just arriving now, and so you're going to start to see neighborhoods peppered with yard signs with the QR codes, because we're hoping to be able to continue to entice people to enroll even after school starts.
Vice President Davis, do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to move public comment up because I know you all have been waiting so patiently. Mr. Ronell, if it's okay with the board, I can move public comment up.
Greetings and good evening to our board and to our St. Louis community. Out of respect for the board and their mission to conduct district business, we will continue to enforce guidelines for public comment. They are as follows, and you've been already aware of them upon your entry. Citizens who are interested in commenting will sign in on the iPad or via the sign-in sheet between 6 and 6:30 p.m. prior to the board meeting starting. Do not hand documents directly to board members. Give them to the secretary at the far left of the desk. Commenters may take a seat in the room. Public comments will occur at the appropriate time of the board meeting. Each commenter will have up to 3 minutes to address the board. After 3 minutes, the mic will be muted. Each commenter must remain respectful and refrain from speaking derogatorily about anyone. If you do so, your mic will be muted. There will be 30 minutes allotted for all comments. If you were not called to speak, you might submit your information in writing, or please return to the next scheduled board meeting. Only one individual or group should speak to the same point on a topic. And prior to speaking, please share the school that you are representing or that your child attends. On this evening, first we will have Mr. Bill Monroe.
First of all, I want to personally thank you, Miss Emily Hubbard, for having the courage to stand up against the failures in our community and those that won't allow community participation. I want to thank you, ma'am, for having the courage, for calling out the way you called it. And the community respects you, and we appreciate you. And I thank you. Number two, I'm not going to dwell on a lot of the negatives involving this board because my 3 minutes will be up real quick. But I want to say that Bill Monroe is still steadfast deciding to take 2 of these vacant school buildings, depending on how this board treats Bill Monroe and Harriet Tubman. We have a homeless problem in our community, and we have vacant, raggedy, dangerous school buildings crumbling in our community. And Bill Monroe has made an appointment with a bank that's been following me, Midwest Bank, a brother named Orv Kimbrough, who deals with nonprofits. And my goal is to take 2 of these vacant, crumbling buildings that's harboring thieves and everything else in these buildings and making homeless shelters out of 2 of these buildings. One homeless shelter that will house girls and one homeless shelter that will house the boys. And we got to approach what's going on in our downtown areas. There are many, many people communicating about how bad St. Louis is, and it all points to the young black male many times. And it's a dangerous situation. And this board has contributed somewhat because we're going to be putting our young boys and girls on metro transportation. Metrolink has already said they don't have the ability to handle security for these children. They don't have stations where, when you walk, where metal detectors, and our children are their lives are gonna be in danger because we're putting them in that shape. So once again, I wanna comment to Ms. Hubbard because it makes me a little emotional. I'm an ex-cop, all right? I'm not afraid of danger, but you're putting our children on Metrolink, Metro buses. Uber had a situation where one of the drivers molested a 13-year-old child, and we're putting our children in danger. So once again, I want to bring this to your attention, but I want this community to accept this bank will help us do something for these vacant buildings.
Would everybody raise your hand if you support the St. Louis Public Schools? Raise both hands if you support the St. Louis Public Schools. I didn't mean to disrupt the meeting and violate the rules.
That's all we got.
Thank you. First of all, I have to thank the school board. I know you volunteered for this, and things have been a little rough recently, but thank you for your service. I applaud you. We got a little history earlier about how we got to this point about elected school boards. This is the first time we've had an elected school board in decades that didn't have political appointees on it. I applaud you again. And I applaud our hardworking staff in the St. Louis Public Schools. We had a joint statement yesterday. I want to reiterate that again. Many of our members, Local 420, doesn't know the principals and assistant principals have a union. Local 44 is standing with us. American Federation of Teachers, Local 420, that's teachers, certificated, non-certificated staff, safety officers, the skilled trades now. We're together. The Laborers Union, Local 42, representing the custodians and some of the new bus drivers coming on. Yes. The Missouri NEA represents the nurses, and SAIU, Local 1, the Missouri Division of Food Services. We're all together. We support the current school board, the elected school board. We want to see the investigation go through with the superintendent and go where it may. This evening I handed something to the auditors from the state. It's a copy of the Good Jobs First report. And when we talk about finances, nearly $200 million in TIFs and tax abatements been loaned by kids' milk money to the city of St. Louis. Pay it back. Thank you.
Mr. Charles Murphy.
Good evening, everyone. Charles Babatu Murphy, sort of kind of retired. Everybody's on me, including my wife. But anyway, I just wanted to say something and kind of change up the focus. We've had elections lately, and different people ran into different obstacles. But I want to just kind of remind people, President Biden had said, all Jews are not Zionists. Anybody remember that? And the interesting thing about it, the news never spoke to it, clarified it, or anything like that. And so I'm trying to figure out why the news didn't do that. And the other thing that came up, I mean, when I first heard it, is it because Zionism has been called everything from colonialism to pride in being Jewish? In other words, nationwide, issues come up, and instead of the news trying to help people understand it, instead of schools and school districts trying to help people know the history on the different things that happen, we don't see that enough. And to me, I think one of the biggest things our young people need is places like museums. We got a Griot Museum of National History. We got the George Vashon Museum of History. Our students need to almost live there in both of those. And not just ours, every student in this area that lives around this needs to be visiting those things. The other thing is we need to make sure that our community people, in particular people who work in art, music, and everything, because remember, they tried to take the A out of STEAM and all this other stuff. Don't get me started. The whole point is all these things matter, and we have to be able to listen to people and make sure we all talking about the same thing. And I'm glad I made it tonight, and I'm going to talk about the news. They gone. The people get up to talk, news gone. Well, I take that back. Y98 in the house, so I ain't mad. so oh, it's just a shirt. Well, whoever you are, thanks. But anyway, like I say, I appreciate this. To be continued.
Susan Jones.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Susan Jones, and I am a proud parent and past SOPS member of the St. Louis Board of Education. I stand before you tonight with a heart full of passion for our children and a commitment to the future of St. Louis Public Schools. I'm here tonight because we are at a crossroads where our actions today will define our district's path for tomorrow. Recently, a call was made for the resignation of 2 board members. Let me be clear, this is not a decision to be taken lightly. It opens up the floodgates for our district to slide backwards, undoing years of hard work and progress that we worked for. As board president, we fought to ensure that the citizens of St. Louis had a voice in education, because we believe that democracy is a cornerstone of that choice, and we must protect it at all costs. Thank you to the current board members who continue to swiftly resolve issues that do not serve our children's best interests, because, as you all know, we stand united, and divided we all fall. Our children deserve a bright future together, and as a city, we can make this happen. Hard times may come, but that's okay, because we must stick together when these things happen. We cannot allow the media or outside organizations with their own private agendas to decide what our district looks like. We have got the power and the strength, and we've got this. Too often, we see scenarios like this play out in schools serving communities of color, in schools where poverty is prevalent. But we are better than that. We owe it to our children, our community, and ourselves to rise above and to ensure that every decision made in this is made in the best interest of those who matter most, our students. Let's continue to fight for them, and let's continue to ensure that the future of SLPS is one where every child can thrive. Thank you.
Pastor Charles Norris.
Good evening. I know I'm not in church, but if I were in church, I'd probably get up and say there's a sweet, sweet spirit in this place. And I know that spirit is the spirit of the Lord. And I say that because there's been a spirit of love. There's been a spirit of peace, a spirit of joy, a spirit of understanding, and God knows one of the spirits that we don't like to talk about is long suffering. I know this board has suffered long, but continue to stay strong, and I stand here to say, as the president of St. Louis Resource Collaborative Foundation, as the president of as the pastor of St. James AME Church that just celebrated our 140th year anniversary, we stand here strong with you and keep doing what you do, because there's a very famous saying that also is a scripture that says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose. And this is the time for you to stand strong. This is the time for you to show our children how to love. This is the time for you to continue to stick together and not be divided. This is the time for you to bring home the gold the way Collier did, and the way Tatum did, and the way Shackley did from the Paris Olympics. This is our Olympic season. I encourage you to stand strong, do what you need to do, and we will get there together. God bless you.
And the church says amen.
Alexis Perez Lane.
And I'm a little shorter than him. Hi there. I've been an educator in the district, a parent in the district of 2 elementary-aged foster children at a neighborhood school. And I also firmly believe that if you're going to come with complaints, you have to come with solutions as well. I've also said that teaching an SLPS is like dog years. So in my time in the district, I lost not 1 but 2 children, 1 to asthma and 1 to gun violence. I taught 2nd and 3rd grade. I endured 1 school being turned into a consortium school and 1 school being listed for closure in 2020. I watched my 2nd grade students on their own decide to write letters to the Board of Education, and they remained open. The instability of this district is the result of pilfering from everyone from charter schools to privatizers, proponents, quote-unquote activists who claim to have our students' best interests at heart, but they do not. After looking into gifted education for our foster son and looking into the demographics of the gifted and talented elementary schools in the district, I actually spent the last 3 years writing a dissertation about how inequitable the system is, actually. That the crown jewel of our school district, the only elementary school that I actually do believe is equitably and effectively servicing all of their students, is 70% white and an 84% black district. So to your point about right-sizing the district, I actually think that this should not only impact neighborhood schools. I think that we should abolish our magnet system and offer gifted programming in all of our neighborhood schools. Sorry, we're looking the elephant in the room in the eyes right now, and we have an opportunity to revolutionize the district for all of our students, to earn back the trust of all of the parents who have left for North County and charter schools, because there's far more black parents that are leaving our district than the 11% of white parents that would leave our district. I thank you for your commitment to these children, but it will take our entire city coming together. There's absolutely nothing that we can't do if we're working together, and I will say that the right time was decades ago, but the second best time is right now. And there's nothing that we can't do if we come together for these students. So I really thank you all, and I thank you all, and it's going to take our entire city kind of coming together. And it's time for the adults in the room to really step up for these kids, all of them, and take ownership. So thank you all. I appreciate it. Thank you.
The Reverend Dr. Teresa Daniely.
Well, I'm tired, so I'm not going to be preaching. Like my friend there.
and I gotta register my kids at like 8 in the morning tomorrow, so. Yes, I'm Teresa Danley. I'm the president of the Mann Elementary PTO, where all 3 of my kids have gone or are going. 2 of my kids now attend McKinley Middle School because Fanning Middle School was closed, which they could have walked to. And I appreciate everything that everybody has done and is doing tonight. And to me, the recent news that President Cousins talked about, right? The recent news actually reveals again the importance of public education as a public good. As we have said, you all are elected, and there are Missouri laws that are supposed to be followed about transparency. We heard about the governance audit that's going to happen. And by contrast, and this is very important, and I wish there were cameras here, by contrast, charter school boards are private, they are unelected, and they have few such requirements. The Network for Public Education has documented millions of dollars in fraud and waste by charter schools in Missouri and every state with charters. Yet because charter school boards are private and there are even LLCs involved in many cases, do you know charter schools in St. Louis get money from the Port Authority for their development projects? I just found out about this from Jerry Connolly. In many cases, the scandals are rarely as public as what we're dealing with in SLPS, and that is not right. That is not right because charter schools have no track record. And as far as I can see, because I'm from Normandy, I grew up in Normandy, I watched that district disintegrate. They are only experimenting on majority black districts. I believe that the SLPS transportation crisis is another failure of privatization. Make no mistake, I'm mad as hops that I have to make spreadsheets for my middle schoolers' transportation to and from school with and without extracurriculars. And I don't think it should have ever been contracted out in the first place. It's too complicated to contract out. Follow Rittner's example. I'm so glad to hear that you all are bringing the transportation call center in-house. That's huge. That's great. That's like a wonderful first step. And I hope we continue on that trajectory. I hope that all of this is an opportunity to reconsider, as we've also talked about, why we have 68 schools in SLPS and 35 other charter schools, which are just privately run schools with public money and very little accountability in a city that currently has fewer and fewer children. And as we've talked about, that is also a housing issue, that is a worker issue, that is an issue that will take all of us to solve. But fragmentation and privatization have never served the city of St. Louis, and they will not now, and let us all pull together for our kids. Thank you.
Sarah Haig.
Hi everyone, my name's Sarah Haig. I'm an art teacher at Roosevelt High School, and I'm happy to see all of you, and I know your job is very hard. We recently got an email at, I think it was 2:53, and it said, FYI, anyone that teaches on the 3rd floor is going to have to move classrooms in 2 days. I have been in the same classroom at Roosevelt for 11 years. I have 11 years worth of stuff in that room. There are 16 of us that will be affected by this move. They are going to put NCNAA up onto the 3rd floor, and I just wanted to read to you, Dr. Borshade, I wanted to read to you an email that I sent to you that you probably haven't got an opportunity to read yet, but I just wanted it to be very transparent. Hello? I learned today that all of the 3rd floor Roosevelt rooms were to be relocated to other parts of the building. You may not be aware that the art department's classes include NCNAA students. We are happy to welcome them back into the building and our classes, but are concerned that a relocation of art classrooms will result in facilities that won't serve art students, such as sinks, storage, work tables, and light. If it is imperative that these rooms be relocated to other parts of the building, I'm requesting that running water, storage space, and art tables be made available for all of our students. Thank you. So I sent that to email to you because I do teach students from NCNAA, so I'm like wondering, why do I have to move? And then I'm probably gonna have to move back upstairs again and move, and we have 2 days. This is coming from the other 16 teachers that just got notified. They're saying, who is this serving? They're saying that their classrooms will not be ready on time, that they will be missing PD, and using this time to move will put our lessons in jeopardy of not being ready as well. In doing this, many teachers will be unable to complete their deliverables, number one being there for the students in mind and body. And if the teachers are not being served and the students are not, who is benefiting from this decision? For me, kind of, like when I first got this email, and I told myself I was not gonna cry, but it feels like the trauma of like a fire or a flood or a burglary. Like 2 days. I'm so excited for school to start, and then it's like, oh crap, this is gonna, we don't even have an elevator that works right now. And I don't know where my classroom's gonna be. So, thank you, and I just wanted you guys to be aware of what's going on.
Velma Bailey.
Good evening, everyone. I'm very excited about being here one more time again and seeing all of you working together. I do want to say for the record that being in different organizations does call for differences of opinion, but I also want to say that I support the current board and the members staying together and working together, and I am not one for, if things don't go your way, you ask everybody else to leave the room. So I want to make sure I say that. But before. I came today because I have one question that I like to ask, but I also have some suggestions. Some of us have been, some of us are retired, and we're teachers, and the board has said consistently that there is not enough money to give us a cost of living allowance. And there has just been questions about a large amount of money that could probably benefit the retirees. And you could probably get a lot of goodwill and get some great people to come back in and do some work in this district if you show a little respect for them. Since 2007, nobody has gotten a cost of living allowance. And remember, some of these people are going to retire and you're going to get the same treatment. But on the positive note, I also want to say that the district, if we would start looking futuristic and looking at some more different kinds of ways to evaluate people, maybe we could have some outcomes that would hold people accountable for their jobs. Nobody should be nesting in place and assured of a job when we're not meeting the requirements from the state and the federal government, when kids are failing, when they're not reading. And maybe we should look at principals not having jobs tenured for life until they retire. Maybe they should have a 3 or 5 year job, and we should rotate people. We have a lot of talent in this district, and they're not able to perform because people are staying in place 30 years with antiquated ideas, and they're not moving their staff. And I also would like for schools to be graded where how many people in the community are involved, how many parents are involved, what kind of activities they have going on, how many times principals go in classrooms and not evaluate teachers, but present a lesson, show them how to teach. I would also like to say that there is a program in Pattonville that I'd like for the district to look at. They work with retired citizens to get them friendly toward the district and volunteer and be present at events to provide more resources and, I don't want to say security, but support through events. It's called the 55 Plus Club. So they have 2,500 citizens in their community that they offer tickets to plays and skits and different things that the district has, sporting events, so there can be a group of people there who are supporting students and supporting the events, and it's no cost. I also like to say maybe Colonel Davis could do something else besides walk people out of buildings. Maybe all that presentation that he made about all those people he has contacts with, maybe we can have a dual program for young people to be able to get into security and law enforcement. I have some more wonderful ideas that I'm going to share with you, but I'd also like you to look at my money, almost $250,000 that I'm owed. Thank you so much for this time, and I do appreciate all of you and what you're doing. And thank you, Madam Superintendent, for stepping up to the plate.
And Eric Payne.
Hello, everyone. This is my first time ever attending a board meeting, so I'll be very, very brief. My name is Eric Payne. I'm actually, let me get my words straight. I am the person that works with the St. Louis Chess Club. I am the person who is responsible for training now before you get that negative image, I'm the one that's responsible for training all new teachers. I am fed up and tired of the system. I'm not here to put down my employer because I'm here for the little people. But I have been here for 8 years teaching chess. The St. Louis Club does not start until 3rd grade. I start kids as early as preschool. I see the answer, the results. I'm here because I'm in my feelings. The reason why I'm in my feelings is because the club offered a chess tournament only in May. I don't like that. It should be regularly. I am here really to present offering an actual chess league for the district. It is the answer. All right? I'm not good with talking to adults. I'm better with talking to little kids, so bear with me. Back in May, I was getting the kids ready. I've been at Nance Elementary for 8 years, and I've been at Pomosia for 7 years. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the worst behaved kids are my best chess players. They don't need video games. They don't need computer. I've seen it with my own eyes. I did a tournament on my own where I had Nance travel over to Pomosia to compete. Over 80 kids. It didn't get any recognition. That's fine, because I'm working in the trenches for these little kids. I have reached out to numerous individuals. It's my first time meeting Mr. Jackson. I get to finally put a face with a name. I've been sending out proposals trying to get this thing going. I don't want to discuss money with ladies and gentlemen because it's not about that right now. It's about, this is the answer. I have the answer. But I don't want to give the club my secret recipe because they send young, fresh out, and this is no knock. I know people have to start somewhere, but they send young teachers over. I train them, and they don't stay long because they can't handle it. I'm not making this about ethnicity, but what better way for kids to see someone they recognize? And I'm training all ethnicities, not just black. I got a lot of students who have graduated who I've been training. But I never knew who to talk to. So someone told me, come down to the board meeting. And I see some fantastic teachers here. You might not remember me because I got a little beard now and glasses now, but this is the answer. And I come before the board because I have a proposal. I'm not trying to step on the feet of the St. Louis Chess Club. I don't want them coming after me saying, Mr. Payne, we don't want you no more. No, I still want to partner with them. But they only have tournaments once a month. It should be a league. It should be regularly. More kids should have this program. And I want to know, who should I give this to the secretary?
To the left, that lady right
Yeah,
there.
ma'am.
Sure. Thank you.
That concludes the public comments. Now I'll go to the consent agenda. Is there any questions for the consent agenda?
I have one on 0813-2414.
I had, can we take 03, 05, 06, and 07 separately, as well as 11? So I guess, would you like me to make a motion for
Just go with the ones that's been pulled first.
1 and 2?
Yeah, you can start with that, that's fine.
Motion to approve 08, 13, 24, 01, and 08, 13, 24, 02.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Vowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-2403. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to approve 08-13-2403.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Val, discussion.
So approve a resolution to eliminate the previous operating tax rate voluntary reduction. Can I get a little background, Ms. Banks?
Yes, this is what was presented at the last, I think, maybe the work session or on May 28th. This is each year when the board sets the tax rate, there is a tax levy from which I start the calculations to recommend a rate. For the last 3 years, the board has voluntarily reduced the maximum rate that we could have levied, and we talked about how we did that because we've had all of these ESSER funds, so we did not tax citizens as much as we could have. The resolution that was discussed last time was to basically give the board an opportunity to increase that tax levy that had been reduced over the last 3 years if it so chooses to. So this does not actually increase anything. We'll still go through the tax levy process as we do each year. So in September, I'll come back proposing a tax levy.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Yes. Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Vowell?
Abstain.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-2404. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve 08-13-2404.
Is there a any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Yes. Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Vowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-2405. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve 08-13-2405.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Val?
So I guess the questions would really be for 05, 06, and 07. It says to approve MOUs for different student goal areas. What are those MOUs specifically? In previous consent agendas, we have approved specific MOUs, so I'm unclear on why this is just grouped together in vague terminology.
So there were a list of vendors that we have partnered with, and the list of vendors are Bailey, Amanda Luckett, Greater St. Louis Scouting, the Oxygen Project, TrailNet, Safe Connection. So they've gone through the RFP process, and now we're lumping them all together with their individual MOUs, but we just ask that all of them be approved.
Okay, are those MOUs in board docs, and are they tied to data and performance metrics?
They should be, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I was not able to access them, so thank you for that.
Can you talk about the Read to Success, Ms. Aaron? The 08-13-2406.
Okay, I'm sorry. Which one did you have a question about?
08-13-2406, Read to Succeed.
Let me pull that one up. One moment, please.
Oh, so this is a new community partner. They would be, so this is for the literacy student goal area. This would be after-school programming for middle and high school students to learn about spoken word. They would be doing slam poetry, and we would be working with the networks to identify 1 to 2 schools for this organization to go into. And I always mispronounce this organization, so I'm going to try Uberstick.
Uberstick.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
Is there any other questions?
Just a comment. I feel like when we're evaluating our partners and our volunteers, especially those who provide services with our students and interface directly with them, it would be beneficial for me as a board member to see those MOUs separately rather than just as a group. Even in board docs, if that documentation is there, it is a little bit, doesn't translate well to voting on one chunk of data in the consent agenda versus each partner, because there could be a non-renewal at some point, and if we're just grouping them together as everything that covers this specific area, I have a little trouble with that. Sorry to be so disaggregated in my votes, but I just feel a little bit more responsible if I can vote for things individually.
Totally understand.
Any
Thank
other
you for that.
discussions? Secretary Jones? With that being said, are you going to take all those items and go to move a motion for approval, or are we going to do them individually?
The motion on the table right now is for 05, but would you like to amend that to 05, 06, and 07? So, you made the motion, right, Zadie? Okay.
Yes, we can amend it to include 08, 13, 24, 05, 08, 13, 24, 06, 08, 13, 24, 07.
Any other discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Abstain?
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08, 13, 24, 08, 08, 13, 24, 09, 08, 13, 24, 10.
Motion to approve 08, 13, 24, 08 through 08, 13, 24, 10.
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Val?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08, 13, 24, 11. Is there a motion?
I make a motion. I make a motion to approve 28 on 08, 13, 24, 11.
Is there
Second.
any discussion?
So for the amount not to exceed $1 million, who is paying that amount? So it says there's workforce readiness training, post-secondary guidance, up to 400 second semester seniors from all high schools for the period of 9/10/24 through 6/30/25 for an amount not to exceed $1 million for in-house model supported by the Career and Technical Education Department. So it looks like they are getting some internships, paid internships, which is awesome. Is the district paying for those, or are the employers paying for those? And at what point are we splitting costs and where?
So at this point, all of these funds are from our internal budgetary capacity. The goal is to expand them over time so that they are partially funded by some of the employers as well.
So none of the employers right now are kicking in anything toward paying the students that they're getting free labor from?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Henning, can you come up, please?
Good evening.
Good evening. When we're talking about this in regards to the question that Board Member Val asked, can we talk a little bit more about this Learn and Earn Pay program? The internship, the way it was originally designed, if I'm not mistaken, when we were partnering with STLU, this was originally a $3 million partnership where I think the district did 1.5 or something, and then and they matched the 1.5. The way that program initially was set up, it was kind of where the district and STLU was working together, and they were getting jobs for our students, correct?
Correct.
With the jobs that our students were receiving, the students were getting paid, but they were getting paid the total amount, but a percentage was going to STLU to do the processing to pay them, and no point did the businesses put in any funds to pay the students.
That is correct.
So as this program moves forward, the way that I think you all set this program up, for the first 6 months, the students will get trained, go through the career readiness program for the Learn and Earn. They will do resume writing and do all the things that they need to have the skill set, and they will kind of be working on the job with these businesses that they'll be partnering with. For that first 6 months, the district is going to be, paying them to do this work, correct?
That'll just be for the second semester.
Oh, for the
that they'll get
second
paid.
semester.
Correct. Right.
And then after that is where the businesses kick in, and then they'll actually start paying the students.
So what our goal, potentially, what our goal is, what we've laid out is over each year we ask the businesses to participate, and our goal is that 20% next school year would be funded by businesses.
Okay.
And then 20%, and then in 3 years we get to a point where 50%. So we're really just asking our local community to really have some skin in the game.
Okay.
Right?
And also part of this program, is it that they receive credit hours as they're working?
Correct.
And potentially, is it the goal is kind of like an internship, so potentially as they graduate, because you said over 3 years, as they graduate, it may potentially lead into an actual career or a job for the students that are part of the partnership program that you actually have. Is that safe to say?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And because of us trying to move a program, or you all trying to move a program such as this more so in-house, what is the savings?
Yeah, excellent question. So we're looking at moving from 1.6 million down to 1 million, and we are looking to utilize the structures that we have right now within the district. And I know some of the questions that were asked were, what does that look like for our CTE department? And are we offering additional funding? Is there an additional load for them? Those are some of the questions that we'll have to figure out as we navigate this. But the structure that we're going to put in place is to utilize the really strong CTE department that we have been developing over the past couple of years to be kind of the rock, the foundation. So even those non-CTE students will be able to enroll in the pre-internship training class and be participants in the program. Even though they may not be a completer for the entire CTE program, they can still get some of those benefits, the resume writing, the job coaching, the pre-internship training. I'm going to stop talking because I know you called me out last time, Dr. Ms. Cousins, but yes.
So Dr. Henney, the other part that I want to ask, bringing it in-house and doing what we're doing, does that then give our students more dollars in their pocket?
Yeah, well, I mean, we were going to raise we try to stay with minimum wage. So yes, we will have more, the wage will go up, and we're going to be able to maintain the same level at a lower cost to the district.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Does anyone else have any questions regarding this?
Yeah, I would just like to say that's only 1/4 of 1% of our budget overall, so it's not much. But for some of these businesses out here using our kids as checkbooks, it would be really nice if you step up and volunteer some of your private funds to cover this. Thank you.
Any other questions? Vice President Davis, it's hard to see if you have anything. We just looking at a screen. Do you have any questions?
I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are no other questions, Ms. Bree.
Mr. Hikes? Yeah. Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yeah.
Ms. Vowell?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-24-12. 08-13-24-13.
I make a motion to approve 08-13-24-12 and 08-13-24-13.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussions. Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes? Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-24-14. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion for 08-13-24-14.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
I, the assessment calendar looks great. I'm really hoping that you can tell me that that is, it's like a top. That there, it's the extent of testing that can happen.
So the assessment calendar as presented for the board to review is district testing. So testing that comes from the district down, either mandated by the state or federal government. It doesn't include benchmark testing of that's set by curriculum. So chapter tests, unit tests, things like that. These are college and career ready test, the state assessment map, and of course grade level, the ELL assessments that we're required to do. There's nothing, there's nothing hiding or yet to come, but yeah,
So
that's
our
it.
students will only take the STAR test 3 times a year.
The STAR test is 3 times a year as benchmarked by the district. They could possibly progress monitor, depending on if they are eligible for a reading success plan according to the state Senate Bill 681.
Okay, so
which I could talk more about if you want, but I don't want to
I
go
don't,
overboard.
but I just want to, so the progress monitoring would be for some students, and it would be like testing every month?
Like potentially every 6 weeks, depending on the goal setting and depending on if that's the assessment selected to use to chart their progress. It could be a Renaissance product that we call CBMs, curriculum-based measures, which are 1-minute assessments and not a full-blown. It could be teacher-created tests, exit tickets. That progress monitoring takes on lots of forms, but district-wide, everyone at the same time. No.
Okay, great, thank you.
I want to be really, really clear that these are state and district tests on this assessment calendar.
Right.
Okay.
So,
but then there could be progress monitoring in the schools.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. We're mandated, as Dr. Borshade knows, the state has mandated dyslexia screening. So that's like in our window with our STAR reading and math. It just includes a CBM measure, those 1 minute. But yes, nothing additionally except for the standard curriculum assessments that are given.
Okay. Thank you. Did you need to correct anything?
Any other questions?
Thank you. All right, I want you to know I lost $10. I didn't think you'd have any questions, but I'm glad you did.
Ms. Bree?
I'm so sorry.
Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
08-13-24-15. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda item 08-13-24-15.
Second.
Any discussions? Ms. Bree?
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl?
Yes.
Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousins?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Any board reports?
Oh, yes, I would be kind to start it. I was fortunate to go to Harvard last month, and they gave us information on ways that boards should work. And we know that as a board, we will not get along. We're not going to always hug it out and shake hands and keep it moving. Sometimes we're going to have disagreements. But in those disagreements, we should have disagreements among ourselves. And that's just my opinion. We shouldn't bring the media into this, or because it ain't about the media. Because if we are here for the same reasons, this Tracy Hikes' opinion, if we are here for the kids, then we will want to bring more confusion to the kids. If I have a problem with my president or my vice president or my secretary or even one of the other board members, I will go to them and see how we can hash it out and fix it. Because at the end of the day, we here for the kids. It's not about Tracy Hikes. It's not about me. It's about the kids. And I'm fortunate. All my kids are grown, but there's still kids behind me that I feel that we need to do more for. So I would just hope that as a board, we learn how to disagree, but come together at the end of the day, knowing that what we did was in the best interest of the kids, not in the best interest of me. I already got my high school diploma. And also, I'm fortunate enough to be on the MSBA, Missouri School Board Association. I'm a representative now. And the last meeting we had, on the legislative update, Senate Bill 727, which expands vouchers. And we talk about vouchers in charter schools all the time, that they're not genuine. But I just want to bring that to you all. And also, they said more on the legislative watch that they're going to try to do more open enrollment and more charter school expansions. So we as a community, I know I haven't been able to go down to Jeff City or Columbia, wherever they is, but we need to make sure when things like this happen, we show up and show out, so to speak. So, President, that is my report.
Thank you, Board Member Heights. Board Member Wise.
Thank you. First, I want to say, as a member of the Governance Committee, I look forward to meeting with the Governance Committee to talk more about governance and how we can serve this district, continue to serve this district well as a governing body. Second, I just want to say good luck to all of our students, teachers, and staff on the first day of school, August 19th. I'll be thinking about all of you as you start the school year. I'm excited to hear about what's going on in the classroom and how things progress. So best of luck to all students, families, teachers, and staff. Thank you.
Any other board reports? Secretary Jones.
I'd like to just thank my board members, all the ones that attended the Harvard training. It was so informative, and I really appreciate the fact that we had an opportunity to meet other boards from across the United States and to have the experience of talking about how they handle issues on their particular board. And I just want to say how much I support my president and my vice president as well, because I know that they put in countless hours, and it's been a very difficult time for the district, and yet we've held it together as a team, and I just really appreciate your leadership. And I appreciate all my board members, but I have to say my board president and my board vice president, and as well as you, Dr. Bourget. I appreciate you all, and thank you for being here.
Vice President Davis.
Yeah, I have a few. So on July 29th, I participated in a news conference along with President Cousins and Dr. Bourget, along with the mayor and representatives from the St. Louis Police Department. It was in advance of them releasing 2 days later a video from October 24th, 2022. Really, that preparation for that release and that news conference started back in February. And then meeting with the teachers, talking to family members. I want to thank Dr. Bourget, Dr. Smith, and all the Student Support Services team along with Dr. Phillips at CVPA, the one and only Mr. Perry Anselman, of course, Mr. Steele at CSMB, and all of those tremendous staff members at both of those schools who I just admire so much, for just really taking the time over the summer and being ready to support the students in advance of all of the news coverage from around that period of time. I also want to mention and thank Dr. Borshade and Colonel Davis, Mr. Watson, and then also our partners at MSBA, the Center for School Safety, for really also taking the time to make sure that we are keeping up to date with the emergency operation plans and also the building evaluations, which are being done or have been done, so everyone is prepared for the first day of school. That's something that we probably don't talk about enough, but I was very happy to see that on both fronts, that first of all, we were making sure that they're there for the students, but also that we are going to continue to be vigilant to make sure that each and every one of our schools is as safe as possible. So thank you again, Dr. Borshade, for your leadership on all of that. Sort of leading into that then, along with the legislative committee, we will be meeting again in August to finalize our priorities for this year. The work group on special education has met a couple of times. It's a big, complicated, sprawling project, and so I'm sure we'll be getting an update on where that is soon. But I want to thank everybody who's been sort of having those conversations about special education and sort of thinking big about what we need to do from a legislative perspective, and we'll continue to work on that. I also want to add that I do anticipate that either at our next meeting or coming up, that we'll be hopefully joined by representatives from an organization called Whitney Strong to work with us, alongside us, hopefully along with other school districts, to advocate for possible, reasonable, practical gun control measures, particularly around orders of protection for emergency orders of protection on that. So that's the legislative agenda. Oh, we're also looking towards either October or November to have a legislative breakfast or meeting with legislators. So I was working with Mr. Carroll on that. One other thing about the legislative front, and I'll move on. Also, we will be meeting within the next month or so, probably before September, with the public school retirement system. As you may remember, last year there was legislation that we opposed and have been working on trying to find a solution, kind of tying everything with the presentation, the financial presentation, and everything else. We are going to have to contribute additional money to the retirement system. So we're just trying to find something that is manageable for everyone. And so we'll be having those conversations through the legislative committee, hopefully so we can go jointly with the unions, the retirement system, the charter schools, and us to Jefferson City next session to have a bill that everyone can live with and agree with, and make sure that the retirement system is in good, solid footing for forever, hopefully. And then finally, in terms of the governance, we do need to have a meeting. We are a little bit on standby in terms of the policies, because the MSBA policy project, which has been undergoing sort of behind the scenes work for a year, is ready to sort of start hitting prime time. So I'm told that they are having policies prepared to be sent to different staff departments, and then eventually those will be funneling through the governance committee and then coming to this board for approval. I know I've been talking about this for a long time, but I just keep talking about it, hopefully manifesting that these policies from 1999 will finally be updated in the 24-25 school year. Oh, and finally, there is going to be a school board candidate workshop. Gloria Nolan is heading that. She's working with MSBA. That's going to be Saturday, October 26th from 8:30 to 12:30 at 801 North 11th. More details will be forthcoming on social media, but this is for anybody who is interested, not only in running for the school board, but just interested in how school boards work, sort of behind the scenes. But certainly we'll have information for people who are interested or think they may be interested or aren't sure if they're interested for running for a school board election. That's Saturday, October 26th. I think that's all I got. Thanks.
Thank you, Vice President Davis. I think that was enough. I'll just be reporting on real estate. We have had 2 real estate meetings. For those that don't know, our real estate meetings are public, open to the public to be so that you all are informed. We have had presentations ongoing in regards to Prop S. We have wanted to keep everyone informed as to where we are, what the progress has occurred in regards to the Prop S dollars and how they have been spent. I thought Chief Watson would have done it, but I guess you had enough on your plate today. But we were hoping to have some before and after shots to show a lot of the work that has been done thus far. A lot of our schools, or some of our schools, have had restrooms that are already completed and ready to go for the start of schools. A lot of painting work has been done. I always give this example, and I'm sure Mr. Babatu would love to hear this, but about a month ago, I think we walked Roosevelt. I think the art teacher was here talking about that. We actually walked Roosevelt. I was actually in your classroom, and it was pouring down raining, and it was actually raining inside the classroom. And it just really moved me when we were looking outside and saw all of the equipment to show the roofing materials that was there. So you move, you don't move from the 3rd floor. I do want to let you know you will be dry wherever you go because the roof will be completed before the start of school. So we have had a lot of roof repairs, a lot of restrooms. Yateman has a lot of new upcoming renovations and upgrades that are being done. And we want to ensure that the public know. You did support and support us in regards to the Prop S bond by 87%, as I've stated before, but we want you to see where your money is actually going and is actually going back into the schools. You should see a lot of new playground equipment at Walbridge, some of the schools south. We try to make sure, basically what Board Member Val was saying, that we're trying to identify and making sure based on the facility study that was done by Cordigan Clark, based on all the things that we've basically heard, the citywide plan, all the different information that's come together, that when we're doing the repairs to the schools, that it makes sense, because we do know at some point we're going to have to make some hard decisions, sooner rather than later. So that we talked about that in the real estate committee meeting. Those items were discussed, but we also talked about approving, and I'm proud to say that we have officially, the board has approved, and I get to do this first before they get to do it. The real estate committee has approved doing a co-development adventure. We'll see how it works out with SLDC. You know, oftentimes people say we aren't working together, but we are. We are doing a co-development adventure with SLDC. Hopefully we will see more projects like this. This all came, again, from the citywide plan. We didn't focus just on the academics things, but we hear and understand what the community is saying when it comes to our properties, our vacant properties. So this is one of a pilot that we're hoping to work out. We do know, and we hear you, we understand the old Cleveland ROTC. We understand that there are a lot of different buildings within this city that the district owns that we're trying to do right. We're working on Northwest. Hopefully, you know, fingers crossed, we continue to move that project forward. We're trying to create a homeless, housing facility for our homeless children in Northwest. But this adventure that we're actually doing in a co-collaborative adventure with co-development adventure with SLDC is Marshall School. So stay tuned to see what that will look like if this pilot goes well. I think it will be the first of its kind in the state of Missouri, where we as the district and SLDC will actually be working in partnership. The goal is to stabilize that building and actually identify a developer to come and do something positive in regards to that property, as well as getting input from the community to do it. So hopefully you'll see more projects like that to come. We will do more announcements on properties that we have sold. Baton School has been sold. We have a contract hopefully by the middle to the end of August. So hopefully at the next board meeting, I'll be reporting on yet another school building that's being sold. This is a process, just for everyone to understand and know. Real estate is a very challenging process, and as a board, this is not what we were in the business of doing as a district. We were not in the business of doing real estate. We were supposed to be in the business of education. Somehow this has become a new trend now that we're doing. So we are moving forward. Like I said, in the past, real estate meetings were closed. Now these are open meetings to hopefully inform the public of what we're trying to do. We've heard and understand the concerns and trying to be transparent. So hopefully you guys can go online and see what we're talking about when it comes to the things that we've been able to do in regards to real estate. But we have been making some great strides in regards to that. I didn't need to talk about the Harvard PEP because my colleagues talked about that pretty much. We did learn a lot, and we continue to learn a lot. I do want to recognize MSBA once again. I know Vice President Davis talked about it, but I do want to call out John McDonald specifically and what they've been able to do in walking with us in this crisis. This was a hard pill to swallow, having to relive and be traumatized over and over again in regards to the crisis that the district was enduring, and just seeing multiple things were going on. But you all definitely stepped up and supported us when we needed it. And I want to always acknowledge and give respect to what MSBA has been doing. This district, I mean, of course the board is going through a lot in regards to where we are in regards to the superintendent. We know we continuously say, and people really don't seem to want to respect or understand that, but this is a personnel matter. You have to understand that this is a personnel matter. There are things that we have not and cannot share legally because this is a personnel matter. But I do want to acknowledge, I know she's left, but I want to recognize Ms. Gloria Nolan and Miss Tracy left. Ms. Tracy, we were asked to come and present to the PTO, the parent teacher, I always say PTO, PAC, the PAC, to ask questions because clearly, you know, there was a lot of misinformation being put out there. And it seems like the information that we were able to, the questions we were able to ask that we could ask, to ensure that, you know, we stuck to things that could be told and things that could not be told. It seems like the parents seemed pretty pleased. If you didn't have the time to be able to see that, I think they have information for you to be able to get more information about what we were able to discuss as board members in that order. The last thing, and it keeps going out, so I'll just ask her to come up, but I want to talk about, it came back. I want to talk about dollars that we've been able to receive, and I want her to stand up still as I speak on this. We only have a small team, and it's not a lot, but Chief Banks talks about this, and all the dollars that we're bringing in, the district has the ability to get matching funds. What we're doing with Prop S, what we were able to do with ESSER, all of these different components of fundings that we have coming in, the other way to sustain and expand the district and what we're able to do is we have to seek federal dollars and state dollars. In order to do that, someone has to apply for those dollars. So Ms. Erin, can you stand up? I want to recognize Ms. Erin and her team. Due to her team, the district was able to receive 2024 Renew American Schools Prize Grant of $11 million. That funding will actually go toward, again, upgrades to the school's renewable energy. That's all I have on my report. Is there anything else? I need a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Ms. Bree.
Mr. Hikes?
Yes.
Ms. Weiss?
Yes.
Ms. Hubbard?
Yes.
Ms. Fowl? Ms. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Ms. Cousin?
Yes.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.